Okay, let's watch the fucking Hbomberguy video, dude. I know you guys have been agitating to watch this. Fuck it, dude. If it gets boring, we'll skip it.
Don't worry, vaccines are perfectly safe, according to me. You might notice a little prick. Hello and welcome back to hell. I'm just vaccinating my profiteroles, immunizing them against the horrendous disease known only as not enough cream, itis. Unfortunately, while vaccines are great at stimulating my balls, in humans they've become quite the controversial topic. In the late 90s, an anti-vaccine movement started to pick up steam, claiming that they cause autism.
And the movement has plenty of washed-up celebrities flushing it, including what's-his-name, and that one, and some more. Here's 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, coming out against medicine.
He once famously tweeted, "No more massive injections. Tiny children are not horses." I mean, of course they aren't. Horses aren't even real. But if there's an entire movement of people with documentaries and websites and Facebook pages with thousands and thousands of members, backed by the
former
US president, why does everyone else seem to think they're obviously wrong? Has the mainstream medical establishment science cucked a majority of people into thinking they're safe so they can keep making money selling them? The vaccine debate is complex and multi-layered and hasn't been resolved for over 2 decades, so obviously it needs me to come and put an end to it in the space of a single YouTube video, by doing what I'm best at, destroying things with my mouth. Oh, hi Mum! Was I vaccinated?
Have you been looking into moving out lately, son?
Thanks for Hasan for the 16 months of good content.
Now, the clever clogs among you will know that there was an anti-vaccine movement of sorts in the 1800s when they were first introduced, but that movement died out on its own a long time ago. Of smallpox. The main argument in the modern movement is that they might cause autism. So let's see what, on paper, this claim is supported by.
Is this their original channel? The new JCS? Like, is this actually their original channel? Or is this not an original channel? I don't understand. Because, like, if it's not an original channel and they're uploading it, re-uploading it, I'm not going to watch it. Wait, did I watch this already? No, I did not watch this already. They already asked to not watch. It's his channel, right? No, one of their videos literally isn't even JCS. But wasn't it linked to the fucking, there's the join the community, True Crime Loser, Patreon? Well, they link it back to the main Patreon and they say this is the main channel. And they have the narrator on here too. You should tweet at him and ask. No, the motherfucker never tweets, dude. He never tweets. He literally never tweets. Tweet or DM them. I tried. Their DMs are closed. I'm not gonna watch. If it's burner. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This might be their like burner account or something, but maybe it's not. If it's Patreon, except to ask you to stop watching. Well, yeah, they literally no. They never said stop watching. They just said don't watch the ones that are paywalled or on our Patreon. If it's Patreon content re-uploaded, I'm not gonna watch it. Chat is stupid. It legit is. Chat is stupid. Yeah, I think that it is their burner, right? Because look, they have like hella fucking videos. It says main channel, JCS Criminal Psychology.
Yo, 7 months.
And they have all these other videos too, like the Brent Christensen one with like 1.8 million views and shit like that. Go to the About page on the main channel, see if it's linked there. Oh, good call. It might not be, though. And if it's not, then it's not. Yep, not linked. Their channel doesn't feature any other channels. Yeah, it's probably not. I've seen every JCS Patreon video. That video's not on Patreon. Did some research and I think it's actually them. These videos on the second channel are old YouTube videos that were unlisted. Some of them have been slightly re-edited with new narration as well. That's what I'm saying, dude. Why is this so confusing? This channel is run by JCS for stories that aren't good enough for the main channel. That is all this literally is. If you give me some time, I can prove it. Yeah, I'll wait. It's not linked, though. It's not linked on their main. It's not. I just looked at it. You have 30 clip channels. I thought the other one was fake until I heard his voice and saw him linking his main channel. How does he have a second one? The team's second channel has been up since JCS first started having issues with YouTube delisting and deleting their videos over a year ago. They tried to get their second channel, but just moved everything to Patreon. I'm guessing that they're trying to figure out the sanctions process with YouTube and using the second channel. In the meanwhile, JCS is a team. The voice guy narrates is Kizume. Last video got 43 million views. That doesn't make sense at all. Patreon only content for some reason he's uploading there too. This literally was the reason why we had issues. Originally, with watching their content. There are two different JCS channels on YouTube. One is the same PFP as a subreddit icon. The other one has a cat. Yes, they are the same creators. The cat one has a lot of unlisted videos, which can only be accessed by a link. Oh, 100%, dude.
You are to me. I've taken many good things off of you. One bad exception maybe.
It's probably their Patreon channel that has their delisted links. So if you go to their Patreon and their Patreon links back to this, then that's their official channel, but just for their Patreon unlisted links. Unlisted, don't watch. This is not unlisted, dumbass. It's now relisted. It probably was. They're probably re-uploading it. Tweeted Kizume, the narrator. He's active on Twitter. He's a Vosh fan and actively makes his own YouTube content. You can connect him and find out. Let's see. He is not a fan of mine. I don't know if I can be if he's a Vosh fan and not a fan of mine, then he might not like me all that much, to be honest. He retweets Kyle too.
Has mods.
Hold on. A new video
Can you talk about the America First rally in SoCal tomorrow?
was just uploaded and I don't want to watch
Yeehaw.
if it's paywalled stuff. Someone is
Pog.
I just checked the JCS Patreon and it links to unlisted videos on the main JCS Zero Criminal Psychology channel.
Please be my daddy. Happy 7 months Hasan and chat, much love.
Okay. Okay, if he's active, I'll just tweet at them, and hopefully I'll get an answer. We'll see. I just tweeted at him. Said, hey Kazume, is this channel the second official channel for Swim Gym vids? A new video was just uploaded. I don't want to watch it if it's just paywalled stuff. Thanks. I feel like this is a question that many people have too. That video is about this case. You watched it? Oh, it's the fucking dude that turns himself in.
Pogo.
Well, regardless.
Just got my second dose.
Anyway, we'll
Obviously
maybe
excited
watch it,
for
but
the
let's get back to
5G
Hbomberguy
update
while
to
we wait for an answer. Why is this so confusing? Like, why isn't there... You know, why aren't there more obvious answers?
Yes, I just ended a sentence with a preposition, and if that annoyed you, we get it. Your school was expensive. We're all very happy for you.
Part 1. The easy version, in case you don't feel like watching this whole fucking video.
In 1998, a study came out alleging a link between the MMR vaccine and autism. MMR vaccinates against measles, mumps, and rubella, which saves kids from having to get multiple painful shots and parents from having to know what rubella is. It was published in The Lancet, a very well-known medical journal, which made it seem credible. However, the paper was eventually found guilty of being bad. The science turned out to be bonkers, and multiple other studies on literally millions of children did not show that there was a link, and the paper was eventually retracted by the journal that published it. So retracted that it literally has retracted written all across every page in big red letters. My printer just does black and white, so I've actually got an artist's impression of the real version. So far, that's some pretty shaky ground on the anti-vaccine side. But later, new evidence came out that...
Oh, that's it. That's all the evidence. This segment is over now. Part 2. The existential horror of... Wait, that's it?
No, seriously. That's all the evidence. There is nothing else even remotely credible. There are some fringe pet theories as to what chemical in the vaccines causes the autism, but since vaccines don't cause autism, they're kind of putting the cart before the squid here. The anti-vax movement had next to no evidence 20 years ago, and now they have even less.
But hold on there, Daddy-O. Sure, you can sum up the entire issue in 52 seconds, wow. But really, I don't think that's good enough. Everyone who's anti-vax at this point has probably already heard and isn't convinced by the easy version. I mean, if you're on the fence about vaccines, you're not going to change your mind because someone told you there was a paper once, but it got retracted, no matter how much they pitch shift their voice in post.
But what if you did want to change someone's mind on topics like this? The data on this issue is discouraging. Research shows that when someone becomes personally invested in an idea, they can become very close-minded, or worse, a YouTuber.
Political science professor Brendan Nyhan and his team spent 3 years studying how over 1,700 parents reacted to various different attempts to convince them to vaccinate their children, and found that no matter what they tried, parents who started out against vaccination didn't change their minds. And worse, trying to correct false claims about vaccines actually made some parents more against vaccinating. Nyhan told The New Yorker, "It's depressing. We were definitely depressed."
Now, as a fellow fan of logic and reason, I'm also
Dude, this fucking sucks! Dude, please, I don't know. I really don't know. I hope this fucking video, like, it goes to a more positive space with this. Because this, like, hurts my soul. It hurts my fucking soul, dude, okay? It just, when I see stuff like this, I get so sad, dude.
doing great. But in today's particular, shall we say, socioeconomic climate, it's extra pressing that we figure out how to get everyone on the same page with regards to public health. So the purpose of this video isn't just to point out a group that's wrong about something. The real question is, when someone is wrong about something, not just this, how do you change their mind? Now, personally, I'm not sure how to do that. If it was easy for humans to change their mind about stuff, then this video wouldn't need to exist, would it? But maybe we'll find some answers by exploring what convinced people vaccines might be dangerous in the first place. We should probably begin with that old 1998 study, because let's be honest, how many people on either side of this discussion have actually read it? People don't read scientific papers. They check out the blogs or videos of people who they already agree with, and they tell them what the science said. And I mean, same. I heard all the other people say the science was bad, and I believed them. And the anti-vax people probably just believed whoever told them it was true. So, to be unbiased about this, let's really start at the beginning. Look at the original paper. That's the wrong page. Let's actually read this old paper and see what it has to say and come to an honest conclusion about its findings.
5 minutes late.
What the fuck? This is why people are against vaccines? This is the worst fucking paper I've ever read in my life! Right, let's talk about the study. I'm calling it The Study because its real title was Ileal Lymphoid Nodular Hyperplasia, Nonspecific Colitis, and Pervasive Developmental Disorder in Children, which is a bit of a tongue twister. I had to do a not insignificant amount of Googling to find out whether it's pronounced ileal or ileal. Don't know why I bothered. If I got it wrong, it's not like you would have noticed. The paper's lead author is Dr. Andrew Wakefield. I'm sorry, there's a mistake in my script. The paper's lead author is disgraced ex-Dr. Andrew Wakefield. Wakefield is seen by many as the founder of the modern anti-vaccine movement, since he was behind the paper that started the whole thing. Let's keep an eye on that guy. Oh, fucking. The smoke machine occasionally goes off on its own for no reason. I can't be bothered to get up. The paper's supposed purpose was to investigate a connection between bowel disorders and developmental issues in children, in particular targeting signs of autism. So first off, what's a colitis? Right, hold on. Okay, colitis is inflammation of the colon, one of the main symptoms of bowel diseases like Crohn's disease, for example.
Colitis.
By the way, we're going to use words like bowel, colon, and intestine interchangeably in this video. Don't let it confuse you, they're mostly the same thing. If you're a doctor, pretend you didn't hear that. The paper says non-specific colitis because it's not looking for specific kinds of inflammation. It's looking at whatever inflammation these children happen to have and seeing how they compare, because maybe they're all linked, and maybe they're even linked to the autism. According to Wakefield, he just happened to notice a lot of kids with both autism and bowel disorders, and he launched the study to investigate a possible link.
I'm going to make the executive decision here and skip over the in-depth analysis of the study that links everything back to the MMR vaccines potentially causing autism, and skip over to the media's part, because I feel like I don't care about like all of the deep intricacies, especially because I don't care, because it's already an old study and it's already been fucking disproven. So I feel like it's not worth watching from that end, because I want to know about how it got to chat. This is yet another instance where I know better than you, okay? I promise. I do. I promise I know better than you. I literally promise I know better than you. Trust me. Trust.
The paper was bad, sure, but mass movements against vaccines don't start because of the release of a paper. Like we discussed, people don't read papers. I didn't read it for like 20 years. And you know who else didn't read it? Every journalist who reported on it.
Including me.
But when a doctor publicly says the government is putting millions of children at risk with a vaccine rolled out nationwide, even if his paper's a load of old shit, you gotta report on that. The possibility was too tantalizing to ignore. It's really hard to get across how unavoidable the issue was. If you even glanced at a TV or a newspaper in the mid-2000s, it was MMR might cause autism, or it was Princess Diana is still dead.
Measles kills thousands.
Save you some time. Dude paid his child's friends for test results for his paper. Okay.
Of people every year. But today, questions about the vaccine.
Vaccination could be linked to a new side effect, a combination of bowel disease and autism.
Hundreds of articles, news pieces, and documentaries were made about the potential significance of this study. They rarely show or
For the record, I know some of this stuff already to begin with. So what he's going to talk, we've watched like a different version of this video that's 20 minutes long. I think Wisecrack did one as well. And plenty of coverage has been extended to anti-vaxxer stuff. That's part of the reason why I wanted to, you know, go into more specific details of like how anti-vax conspiracies fester. The big issue here is that the media will take on these salacious stories and accelerate them and like put them in the forefront, and will actually do what I like to call overcorrective neutrality in a situation where one side does not have any information and is oftentimes backed by a singular charlatan who is slated to lose all of their credentials anyway. Okay? But the media will engage in this like unbiased debate, right? And the problem is there should not be an unbiased debate on both sides, the veracity of the argument on both sides, because you're just becoming a conspiracy nut now, and I love it. What? First of all, I've always been a conspiracy nut. I love conspiracy theories. I know a lot about conspiracy theories because I think it's great. But also, nothing I just said is a conspiracy.
Discuss the contents of the paper itself, but the doctor behind it came out against MMR. There's a potential link. There's a potential link, everybody. Panic! And do you know what happens when every news resource is screaming about the potential risks of a vaccine? You make millions of people terrified to vaccinate their children.
I was growing up during the MMR scare, and the main thing I remember from the TV news at that time was big shots of pointy needles and children screaming as they get given an injection and ominous voiceovers saying, oh, these vaccines might be dangerous. It's almost like TV deliberately scares people for ratings because that's how this works. That's the entire point.
If you want to know why thousands of parents think MMR gave their children autism, it's not because they came to that conclusion on their own. We've seen how, before all of this reporting happened, only a teeny tiny minority of parents made the connection between autism and the vaccine. They could only find 7 parents of autistic children who blamed MMR in the original study even. The only thing that changed was how many news outlets were telling everyone the vaccine might cause it. After years of the media telling them it could have been the jab, some parents started to believe it.
His symptoms started to appear when he was 2, soon after he had his MMR. This is the age at which autism usually develops, but his parents don't believe it's coincidence.
His parents didn't believe it was
Just checks on a Patreon sub. That video is a public re-upload of a previous Patreon channel. It has mountains of new footage and new commentary. Seems to be totally new.
a coincidence because every news resource was telling them it might have something to do with the vaccine, and trusting that the media had done the work and knew what they were talking about, they believed what they were being told.
The end result of publications and broadcasts like this was a lot of concerned parents, a lot of unvaccinated children, and a whole lot of new cases of measles.
With inoculation rates falling to dangerous levels.
In Ireland, the debate over MMR has been fueled still further by a measles outbreak which killed 3 children. Whatever the official evidence, which rejected a link between MMR and autism, fewer parents were prepared to take a risk.
I wonder why that might be. Could it be because every time you turned on the television there's footage of a screaming child with a needle in its arm? Once literally every other doctor had come out saying, look, there's no proof, please stop doing this, a lot of journalists got really defensive suddenly and started putting out pieces like, no, I will not stop reporting scaremongering bullshit. Wait, the same journalist wrote both of these. She just spent like 6 months of her career complaining about people criticizing her. Amazing. So, what was Andrew Wakefield doing during all this? Well, he was getting interviewed non-stop and having clips played in almost all of these news pieces. He was like a celebrity, especially to the
You might find this interesting. What?
President Biden's mission to have 70% of American adults with at least one shot of the vaccination.
Okay, hold on. We'll get to that in a little bit. That is fucking insane. A nurse is willing to lose her job to not get vaccinated? Yeah, you should. Fuck you.
Growing list of parents newly convinced by the media's reporting that he'd discovered why their children had autism. For a couple of years, Andrew Wakefield was
the context you skipped was that just that the paper only asked for what the parents thought caused their child's autism and didn't even bother doing an actual test. Legitimately, only an opinion piece by like 7 parents in the whole of the United States and overseas. Why the fuck did Lancet publish it?
the sort of guy who you filmed in slow motion in black and white.
Holy shit. Wakefield used his time in the spotlight to spread even more doubt about MMR and continue to repeat the recommendation that parents get separate vaccines instead. At the press conference, in interviews in the aftermath, and 4 whole times on a 23-minute videotape he sent to journalists, he claims he thinks separate vaccines would avoid the risk of autism.
Andrew Wakefield says he appealed to the chief medical officer more than...
So people trust the media, become anti-vaccine, they trust the media when they all tell them different. I'm confused. So here's how it works. Everyone is inherently a little skeptical, okay? They are a little skeptical of authority figures, especially in a place like America that's built on like contrarianism as a fucking fundamental value. So what ends up happening is the media loves unwinding the thread of like fringe conspiracies because it's really salacious, it's really good coverage because it's really entertaining, it drives a lot of clicks. And what ends up happening in this situation is they'll see that, people will see that and just operate with that. I showed you the Facebook link earlier today where there was a fucking video. Yeah, I'm going to run the ad right now. I'm not going to do a fucking segue. You guys got me, okay? Are you happy? You fucking caught me. You really did a good job. You fucking owned me, okay? It just gets annoying when I'm trying to talk to chat and you're like literally spamming like, oh, the ad break is coming, okay? Yeah, I'm going to do the ad break right now. If you no longer want to... Yeah, my pre-ad spam, my pre-ad break spam is like 1,000 times worse than the segues. Like, when you realize that it's like 150, you just like start spamming ahead of time, and it's just like I can't even have a fucking conversation in the chat. It's really bad. So, salacious, arousing, appealing to sexual desire or imagination. Yes, it's sexy. It's hot. That's what I'm saying. So, anyway, oh yeah, here's the fucking ad break now. You can avoid the ads, yada yada. I don't care. Okay, so the thing I was going to say, I'm forgetting what I was going to say. God damn it, dude. Oh, the media will cover it. Where is the fucking Facebook link? Does anyone have that Twitter, the Twitter thing that I posted earlier where it's like 15,000 people shared the story about someone dying, maybe because of a vaccine, and then months later, like a month later, the news report, the same like Facebook post from the same fucking like San Francisco Courier or whatever, admitting that they were, you know, doing a retraction because it wasn't because of COVID, and 19 people shared it. That's why people go anti-vax. It's not Facebook, it's a Twitter link that I was just looking at. It was a meme.
Bezos money.
My mom is getting fired from Yale because she won't get vaccinated. She got brainwashed by my hog sister. How the fuck is your mom working at Yale, but like still dumb enough not to get vaccinated? What the fuck? So we can't find the link, huh? One of you guys sent it to me. I can't believe we can't. He's the janitor. I don't know. Let me see if I can find it. Yep, here it is. Article raising possible link between COVID vaccine and a man's death, 15,000 shares. Follow-up months later on a coroner ruling out the vaccine as a factor, 19 shares. That's how it works, boys. It's salacious. It's sexy. It's hot. People are like, it's hot. It's salacious. It's sexy. People want to fucking, you know, read a news article and feel like they are in on something that other people aren't in on. They have this very natural fear of the unknown, a fear of science, like they're fucking cavemen, okay? And they want to believe that the vaccine is like killing people. So this corresponds with their own confirmation bias. This story, on the other hand, does not.
Hi.
Okay? And that's how this works. That's how this works. And that's how the media plays into it. By covering stories like this before it's completely proven. And it's so sad because there is a sea of misinformation on Instagram and stuff exactly like this. Exactly like this.
My wife is a union RN with Kaiser.
Do you understand?
6 months ago to give worried parents the option of the single vaccine.
My recommendation has been that children should continue to be vaccinated, but to separate the vaccines, there is sufficient anxiety in my own mind over the safety, the long-term safety of the polyvalent, that is the MMR.
Wait, are you serious? I started the stream not wanting to get the vaccine, but you have now changed my mind with your pro-vaccine propaganda. At this point, I still don't trust the corporation's government. I don't either, but I'd rather die because the establishment tricked me than die because of some right-wing hog media / failed doctor tricked me. What an interesting fucking perspective on. Okay. Good. I'll take it, dude. That's one more W right there. That's awesome. Whatever works, works, man. I swear. It's because it's just so... It's crazy. Good shit, brother. That's exciting news. Same for me, honestly. It all comes from these fucking disgusting hogs. All of these goddamn psychopathic conspiracy theories all come from like these assholes who just want fucking clout.
Our vaccination in combination, that I think that it should be suspended in favor of the single vaccines. There is sufficient anxiety in my own mind that it would be sensible to divide them into separate doses. There is sufficient anxiety that the parents must have a choice of how they protect their children.
It's really kind of interesting that while the...
Don't praise him if he did it for the wrong reasons. Shut up, bitch. Of course I'm going to fucking praise him, even if he did it for the wrong reasons, because the action ultimately is right. Okay? He's getting a fucking vaccine. Shut the fuck up, idiot. You are literally the worst. You're going to be the worst kind of parent. You know what I mean? You're the fucking annoying debate lords who are like, actually, did you do the work? It's not logically consistent. Like, shut up. The ends justify the means. I'm literally over here talking about how we should have like mass vaccination and inoculation campaigns. Another huge issue is the fact that they get so horny over side effects of the vaccine, never have such low risk side effects been plastered all off the media. That's what I'm saying, dude. There are more significant side effects and a higher number and a higher percentage of deaths for nearly every single mass used piece of medicine, okay? Out there. You could die from taking aspirin, okay? Nihachu, thank you for the raid. That's interesting. I haven't been raided in such a long time. Wow. Thank you. We are talking about vaccines and why, and you know, debunking anti-vax conspiracies here today, right now. So I hope you had a good stream.
Modern anti-vaccine movement insists that all vaccines are dangerous in some way. The guy who started the fear and anxiety that led to this was pro-vaccine.
We advocate vaccination. This is not anti-vaccine in any way.
He was really specific about the fact that he thought parents should keep vaccinating, just that they should use alternatives to MMR.
The single vaccines are likely in this context to be safer.
Remember that disease he speculated about at the end of his paper? That there might be some kind of bowel disorder caused by MMR that then leads to autism? This came up in the media a lot as well.
Could the MMR jab be causing a strange new kind of bowel disease that was turning the children autistic?
Measles, mumps and rubella given together may be too much for the immune system of some children to handle. There is a bowel disease, a new syndrome associated with regressive autism, and that may be related to MMR.
Eventually, he...
Okay, before we hyper-focus a little bit more on this doctor, the doctor with the most suspicious haircut of all time, like literally, you see this haircut, that's like, the only person that I will trust with that haircut is Ryan Grimm. Okay? That's it. Oh, well, not a doctor. Sorry. Not a doctor anymore. Disgraced ex-doctor. Before we hyper-focus on this person individually for the main cause of, like, anti-vax hysteria and incorrectly tying vaccinations to autism originally, there has always been anti-vax conspiracies even before him. Just like we talked about the anti-seatbelt hysteria in America when seatbelt laws were put in place. Just like there were people who did not want to wear masks during the fucking Spanish flu. Okay? There are always going to be psychotic contrarians everywhere. Especially in America.
Even came up with a name for it: autistic enterocolitis. Wakefield's theory, when he tries to explain it, is that the almost dead measles virus present in the MMR vaccine can get stuck in the intestine somehow, causing all that inflammation they apparently found in the study. More on that later. Which leads to it not digesting certain foods like bread and milk properly, turning them into, his words, a morphine-like substance, which then leaks out of the bowel and into the brain, causing autism.
Morphine-like substances from the gut that you and I produce in our diet from milk and wheat are actually getting access through that leaky gut into the developing brain.
This theory is, very strange. One of the many strange things about it is that it specifically implicates the measles part of the vaccine. If measles, when it's in a vaccine, can cause a syndrome that leads to autism, how could you possibly be so certain that the separate vaccine for measles would be safe?
The risk of this particular syndrome developing is related to the combined vaccine, the MMR, rather than the single vaccines.
Okay, sure, but why? On what basis are you saying that, Andy? How could a doctor so easily make that recommendation?
And it may be that giving the measles on its own reduces the risk of this particular syndrome developing.
He just keeps saying it.
My opinion, again, is that the monovalent, the single vaccines, measles, mumps and rubella, are likely in this context to be safer than the polyvalent vaccine.
That's the MMR vaccine.
There's actually a real reason why he recommended the separate vaccines so much. We'll get to that later. Here's the one example I could find of an interviewer asking him to explain himself.
But even supposing the measles element of the MMR vaccine had deposited the virus in the intestinal tissue of these children,
intestine tissue,
a single jab of measles might do the same.
Theoretically, it might.
But you're advocating a jab, single jabs instead of MMR.
I said theoretically.
Oh, only theoretically. Well, that's fine then. What a great scientist.
But if you say it may do, then how can you advocate a single jab of measles, even if there's only a theoretical possibility that it might damage a child?
While that question mark exists, at the very least, parents deserve a choice of how they protect their children against these infections, whether it be with the MMR vaccine or whether it is with the single vaccine.
He always finds a way to pivot back to how, in the midst of all of these questions and concerns, which he started, parents should at least have the option of a separate vaccine. Honestly, you'd think he was some kind of salesman for alternative vaccines. Autistic enterocolitis is not, and has never been, accepted as real by gastroenterology, the field specializing in the stomach and intestines. But an ordinary person, or worse, a journalist, might not understand it enough to know that it doesn't make sense. So, of course, it got reported as an interesting new idea.
It was a bold and controversial theory.
That's an interesting choice of words. This piece by that really defensive lady, Melanie Phillips, one of the most well-paid journalists in Britain at the time, is still continuing to spread it in this very article about being criticized for spreading it. She calls it a unique gut-brain disease. When you imagine a new disease, of course it's gonna sound unique, Melanie. No red flags popping up around the fact that no disease has ever functioned like this before? No? Fucking hell! This completely unproved, unique, bold, and controversial theory was irresistible to Phillips, a Bigot of the Year award-winning writer famous for also denying climate change, calling Obama an Islamist, describing a group of liberal Jews as Jews for genocide, and opposing both Irish independence and gay rights, which she dismissed as an attack on the traditional family by cultural Marxism.
Do you guys see that now? By the way, it always ties together. Like, are there crunchy granola liberals who are also anti-vax? Certainly. There are a lot of hippie moms that are anti-vax. But oftentimes, once they toss you into the fucking vaccination pipeline, you literally only come out as a psychopathic far-right grifter. Okay? A lot of these people will latch on to anti-vax campaigns because they recognize that there's a lot of doubt there. And they do that. They use the anti-vax campaigns and the fears that you may have to redirect your attention to seeing the world in a hyper right-wing, very reactionary, very fearful point of view. That's where one of the purposes comes from. These are people who want to use this as an opportunity to create their own personal branding. Like they're right-wing broadcasters or right-wing columnists that literally are just like, yeah, I'm going to use the anti-vax wave that I may genuinely be invested in, okay? She might be genuinely delusional about anti-vax, or she might not. It doesn't even matter. The ultimate goal is always the same. That's one reason why these people do that.
It's not shocking that Phillips was wrong about MMR. It's her job to be wrong about everything.
Oh, exactly. A contemporary example of this is what Matt Gaetz was trying to do with the Free Britney movement. Do you think Matt Gaetz gives a single shit about conservatorships? Of course not. What Matt Gaetz gives a fuck about is making sure that people are talking about Matt Gaetz and not talking about the fact that Matt Gaetz is currently being investigated by the FBI for potentially, or rather allegedly, sex trafficking minors. But he doesn't want you to talk about that. He doesn't want you to know about that. He wants you to think about Matt Gaetz involved with the Free Britney movement. So you'll go and vote for him.
The truly shocking thing about this is that for once, the entire rest of the British media were on the same side as her, uncritically regurgitating everything Wakefield said to millions of people. This completely irresponsible reporting caused fear, vaccine hesitancy, kickstarted an anti-vaccine movement that's still here today, and resulted in the deaths of children from completely preventable diseases. And that's the tea, sis. There's real liquid in there. I'm not doing a bit. I will spill it if I try and show it to you. I'm sorry. But there's... Look. See? It's real. It's not tea, though. It's coffee. I'm not a farmer. Perhaps the only thing more frustrating than seeing the media do everything it can to push pseudoscience was how everyone actually addressed the topic of autism. Autism is a complex condition we still don't fully understand, with many variations in symptoms and severity. But the media never mentioned that. They deliberately went looking for the most severe and extreme cases they could find, and then filmed them to exploit for television. Children who couldn't communicate verbally or had severe physical disabilities as well. The intent to make the MMR question as serious as possible resulted in an almost pornographic obsession with suffering children. They went out of their way to portray autism as a horrific tragedy that it's worth risking a disease to avoid. And yeah, measles is a disease. Like, it kills people, it can cause incredibly severe complications that are with people for life. We as a society are no longer really aware of just how dangerous measles can be because we don't see all those complications as much because of vaccinations. Measles, mumps, and rubella are legitimately dangerous and potentially life-threatening diseases, and it says a lot about how we think about neurodivergence that it's worth risking that to avoid being autistic to some people. Hell, I was in Waitrose a few months ago. I never shop there, but I pretend to so I can use their unnecessarily massive parking space. And I saw them selling a magazine with this on the cover. Reignite your child's brain with alternative treatments. What they mean there is alternatives to treatment. This is not how a healthy society discusses its people. Autistic people have to navigate a world that refuses to accommodate them in the slightest, to the point they're regularly confronted with the idea other people think their brain has gone out. Come on, get it together, Waitrose. You're the upmarket, upper class, rich people supermarket. You're supposed to be the smartest. What's going on there? The only thing that needs igniting here is your fucking shops. Did we get clearance to say that? Okay, that was a joke. While the MMR scale was at its height, the entire media landscape was a unified front in saying, wrongly, that autism is the worst fate imaginable for a child, and much worse than dying of measles. So a lot of kids didn't get vaccinated. Then again, it wasn't all bad. Some parents just vaccinated their children for measles, mumps, and rubella separately. Which, by the way, was pretty expensive.
But they don't want their child to have MMR. They'd rather pay for single vaccines at £60 a shot.
60 quid? By jolly, governor! Imagine millions of parents wanting an expensive alternative vaccine because all of a sudden a study had come out saying that the
It's the same energy as, yeah, no, I'm not putting that shit in my body. Here's some colloidal silver that this holistic medicine that happens to also be run by an anti-vaxxer is selling me at an upmarked price. Yep. You kind of deserve to get fucked at that point, okay? Sorry. You kind of do.
Regular one might cause autism, and a prominent scientist was cautioning against it.
He'd urged the government to split MMR into separate vaccines.
Giving the measles on its own reduces the risk of this particular syndrome developing.
Why, whoever was producing and selling the alternative vaccine...
Except they're not doing it to themselves, they're doing it to their children, so their kids definitely do not deserve that.
Vaccine would be in for a fucking gold mine, wouldn't they? They'd make an absolute fortune! Here's a funny thing about that. Part 4. Andrew Wakefield is a lying con man who wanted your money. Oh, sorry, that puts me at risk of libel, doesn't it? Hold on, let's revise that. Part 4. In my opinion, Andrew Wakefield is a lying con man who wanted your money. So we have Wakefield's paper and the implication that MMR might cause autism in there, and you have Wakefield saying, you and I can both agree that there might be a conflict of interest there if Wakefield was selling an alternative vaccine, right? We can all agree that would be fucked up, wouldn't it? Here's Wakefield's patent on an alternative measles vaccine.
That's crazy,
this little
dude!
Piece of shit was filed 6 months before the study was released. So, what's going on there, Andy? Something you want to tell us, buddy? It's time to introduce someone new to the story. Brian
Jail. Sorry. Jail. Actually, jail. Skip past go. Straight to fucking jail. You don't get to return from that. You don't get to retaliate. That is mass fraud, dude. It's literally just fraud at such a massive level. What should happen after that is re-examining the protocols that news media has as a supposed bottleneck towards this level of misinformation. That guy goes to jail, and then the media also is closely examined to make sure that they never do this again, except we are still doing it, by the way. And I know that the video is going to continue describing exactly how we keep doing it. It's really, really bad. Let's keep going.
Is an award-winning investigative reporter with a long history of exposing medical fraud, specializing in the pharmaceutical industry, and the perfect sort of person for the middle of this health scare. Dia was one of the few journalists who didn't simply accept what Wakefield was saying at face value, and thought to dig a little deeper into the study and what he was really up to. Dia called the hospital Wakefield worked at with some basic questions, the kind that Wakefield apparently wasn't used to getting. Within 3 hours of doing so, Wakefield's publicist, you know,
doctors hiring publicists to promote them, that happens all the time, had made a complaint about Dear to the newspaper he worked at. Dear, of course, only grew more interested. His eventual 2004 documentary, MMR What They Didn't Tell You, is the better documentary I mentioned before. And by better, I mean blew the doors off of Andrew Wakefield's whole scheme. It was Dear who discovered Wakefield's patent. Let's take a look at that patent now.
The present invention relates to a new vaccine/immunization for the prevention and/or prophylaxis.
How did no one fucking figure this out until this guy did? Like, how did no one realize, like, wait a minute, this guy has like an actual patent that he's trying to shill? And maybe that is a reason as to why. Maybe that is a reason as to why he is coming out with this unscientific nonsense that the rest of the doctors that we have approached are saying is so wrong. Please stop.
Against measles virus infection.
Now, I'm not a big-time science-talking fancy guy, but this sounds a little bit like a measles vaccine. The patent was submitted in June 1997, so...
To be fair though, to the anti-vaxxers or the vaccine hesitant people, the hesitant vaccine people, like, I think if you were to show the underlying reason that all of these supposed skeptics have, like if they were to, I think a good way to tackle this problem without just like banning people, even though I do advocate for banning routine misinformation peddlers with respect to vaccine stuff, is to figure out who they are, do some actual fucking deep digging, and figure out what their underlying motivations are. Hopefully it's something beyond clout. Like it's shilling holistic medicine or things like that. You know what I mean? So that you can show people like, hey, this is why these people are doing this. This is why this account is doing this. I try to do it whenever someone sends me an account that is like really just delusional and has like all these crazy fucking anti-vax stuff. Some of them simply do not have any like PayPal or anything like that. They're not really, you know, there's no underlying motivation there beyond just like spreading fake information. And I don't know why they would do that. Maybe they're just like psychos.
Wakefield had done most of the study and then rushed to patent a method of making a competing vaccine he could sell later. And guess what? If you look closely at the patent, you can see a familiar name on there next to Wakefield's.
Remember Hbomberguy? The quack who thought he could cure autism after having his medical license revoked? His name is also on the patent! He's credited as a co-inventor of this vaccine! Hbomberguy's company, the very real and legitimate sounding Neuroimmunotherapeutics Research Foundation, is listed on the patent along with a business address.
In the documentary where he revealed the existence of this patent, Brian Deere went to that address to try to find Hbomberguy and discovered the company had already shut down and the building had become a real estate agency. Looking that address up now, it appears to be a hairdresser's.
Doesn't look like one of America's premier research foundations.
When he did find him, Deere asked Hbomberguy about the whole thought he could cure autism thing, and, well,
Do you believe that autism can be cured?
Yes.
Cured?
Yes. It's cheap, it's oral, no injections. 1 pill a day, every other day for 3 to 6 months.
And where does that come from?
From my bone marrow.
From your own personal bone marrow? I mean, that seems extraordinary.
Yeah.
Just to quickly remind you, this man is the co-inventor of Wakefield's alternative vaccine. You know what? You got me. Vaccines might be dangerous. And just
yeah, I would not take, bro. If that's the dude that made the vaccine, dude, I'm dying. Like,
in case it wasn't extremely obvious what a hasty fucking scam Wackeyfield and his one friend who agreed with him were putting together, Hbomberguy's name is spelled wrong on the patent. The other inventor of this vaccine besides Andrew Jeremy Wakefield is one Hbomberguy. Nice one, Jeremy.
By 1999, Wakefield was the director of several medical businesses, Immunospecifics Biotechnologies Limited and Carmel Healthcare Limited, named after his wife at the time. She
What do you say to right-wingers that claim victory for getting canceled for sharing the truth when you suggest shutting down peddlers and misinformation? It's really simple. So there's a reason why we never talk about the growing alt-right movement on the internet anymore. That we never talk about Milo Yiannopoulos or Alex Jones all that much, for that matter. And that's because we've shut off that faucet. And when you shut off the faucet, there is usually, and there's studies conducted on this as well, there's usually a quick spike, like an immediate spike in the mentions of said person. But then their drop-off is so severe that you have completely destroyed their audience, and you have completely destroyed their main means of communicating this misinformation to a mass audience. So there's a real reason why people fucking cry about censorship on the internet, especially these like right-wing grifters. And that's because it destroys them. It absolutely destroys them. Okay? That's it. If it was truly a good thing to get censored, and if they wore it as a badge of honor, they wouldn't be railing against it so hard. Do you see what I mean? And what you end up doing when you censor these people, for these misinformation peddlers who are engaging on who are engaging in some of the worst like alt-right propaganda, is that they no longer have new victims. So when you shut down the faucet for anti-vax conspiracies, you are potentially preventing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of new people from going and engaging with that kind of misinformation and going down that anti-vax rabbit hole that your parents may have gone down. Does that make sense? Listening out from C. Terrifying. Let's keep going.
She later divorced him. He started shopping these companies around for investors based on the very convenient patent he'd got right before the health scare he caused. But in addition to the vaccine, Wakefield had another product in mind. If autistic enterocolitis turned out to be real, big if there I know, that would mean there would be a completely new market in the form of testing for this new disease. Wakefield planned on producing and selling diagnostic kits meant to test for autistic enterocolitis. A private and confidential prospectus for potential investors, acquired by Brian Deere, claimed,
"It is estimated that the initial market for the diagnostic will be litigation-driven testing of patients with AE, autistic enterocolitis, from both the UK and the USA."
Describing the target audiences as
parent groups and lawyers representing affected individuals
and
major pharmaceutical companies.
These prospectuses also calculated how much these businesses would be worth.
It is estimated that by year 3, income from this testing could be about £3,300,000, rising to about £28 million.
Adjusting for inflation, that upper estimate is about $72 million. If you think that's bad, years earlier he estimated a much larger number to the for-profit branch of the Royal Free Medical School. £72.5 million per year, almost $200 million in today's money. In an Inventor School investor meeting document that Deere obtained, Wakefield teased they could charge premium prices for the technology he intended to develop. Wakefield also became director of a third business, Unigenetics Limited, in the Irish Republic. Wakefield applied for and was successfully given £800,000, more than $2 million today, in government funding to begin developing the test. And this is all on top of how much money Wakefield would get if he managed to get the funding to manufacture his alternative vaccine. Companies like Axcan Pharma in Canada were paying to fly him out to discuss his business plans.
I'm telling you, identifying like the real reasons as to why people spread these like anti-vax conspiracies, whether it's because they want to launch their own like right-wing propaganda outlet or things like that, is probably going to be successful on people that are at the precipice of being radicalized buy anti-vax shit.
According to Brian Deere, he was also negotiating a consultancy with Johnson & Johnson and developing connections with both Merck and SmithKline Beecham. This guy was sure he was going to be rolling in money. I wonder if this might point to a financial incentive to discredit MMR. Watching Wakefield repeatedly push for getting alternative vaccines just in case is really chilling to watch now. You have to watch him sit there and create demand for his planned future products, and no one watching knows what he's up to. They think he's a doctor, just asking questions about MMR. No wonder he wasn't anti-vaccine, he wanted you to buy his. That said, there were a few roadblocks to the success of these businesses. The first is that autistic enterocolitis is a fake disease he just made up, which means it's very hard to invent a test for it. In Ireland, at Unigenetics, Wakefield brought in a colleague, John O'Leary, to try to get the testing kits to work. O'Leary claimed his test could find measles virus in the bowels of autistic children.
He'd found measles virus in most of the samples he'd tested from children with autism and bowel disease.
This is the closest Wakefield or any of his cohorts would ever come to proving autistic enterocolitis exists. But this quickly fell apart. Every other lab that tried to recreate his results found the same thing. The only way his equipment could get the results he was getting is if there was contamination or if his machine had been calibrated wrong. It turned out later it was both. Test tubes that didn't have measles in them tested positive for measles. O'Leary had an 11.1% stake in Immunospecifics, the company which would be selling the kits, which would have made him incredibly rich if the test had eventually worked. But strangely, he stopped being able to get these results once people started scrutinizing his work. So that's £800,000 of taxpayer money down the drain. The second problem was that potential investors who looked into his alternative vaccine, even slightly, would notice that the guy who co-invented it was a doctor who had just been fired and thought he could cure autism using his fucking bone marrow! So I guess what I'm saying is there was a slight delay in finding people willing to fund it. Finally, as Wakefield tried to launch his businesses, there was a critical shake-up at the hospital he was working at. While many of the Royal Free Hospital's higher-ups were fans of Wakefield's controversial paper and the attention it brought to the hospital and medical school, and some of them were even involved directly with his new businesses. In late 1999, the school got a new head of medicine, named Mark Pepys. Pepys was a specialist in fields close to what Wakefield was speculating about in his papers, and like most scientists who knew anything about the subject, could tell something was up. Wakefield was sent a letter voicing concerns about the scientifically unjustified basis of the work the companies were doing, along with the incredibly obvious conflicts of interest happening here. You know, you kind of have a vested interest in proving a link between vaccines, bowel disorders, and autism when you intend to make millions of pounds off it. Even then, they volunteered to support Wakefield more, but not in the way he wanted. Remember that thing I said about pilot studies? I'm sure you do. You have a good memory. I really respect that about you. They offered to continue employing him, but only if he undertook a new, much bigger study to actually explore the original study's findings properly. He was
sorry. I really wish he did basically this, but for the disinformation dozen, and like the reason why there's so much anti-vax and anti-COVID, or I guess rather pro-COVID conspiracies out there, because like this is good, and he's talking about this specific person with respect to the MMR vaccine. But the reality is, like, most people don't even talk about that outside of, the most, like, anti-vax motherfuckers.
Offered help with a study on 150 patients to confirm what he had only really speculated about so far with a study of 12.
Good scientific practice now demands that you and others seek to confirm or refute robustly, reliably, and above all reproducibly the possible causal relationships between MMR vaccination and autism, autistic enterocolitis, and inflammatory bowel disease that you have postulated.
Autistic enterocolitis is in quotes. They don't believe him, it's great. This would be any legitimate scientist's dream. The freedom and support to fully...
What do you say to someone black that takes precautions but seems to be afraid of the new vaccine because of the treatment of black people in medical? Yeah, no, take it. It doesn't matter. You should absolutely take it. Take the vaccine. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, doesn't matter what your background is, you have to take it. The Tuskegee experiment was conducted specifically on black people with a separate inoculation process. The vaccine that you're getting from CVS does not separate you by skin color. Okay?
2 years poggies.
Like, there is no, unless you think that every single vaccination slot is in on the conspiracy, including all the black people that work there as like volunteers and whatnot, are in on the conspiracy, and they want to inoculate black people with a specific virus or a specific dose, which clearly there would need to be a reason for it. There is no reason. Outside of that, there's no reason for you to not do it. I'm a black guy who was hesitant at first, but after I saw all these rich motherfuckers and celebs taking it, I knew it was legit because there's no shot they would take it if it was fake. Exactly. Thank you. That's the other point. It's like, you think all of these politicians who took the fucking vaccine would take the vaccine, dude?
To open things up again in the UK at this moment.
If they were just like exclusively like, hey, black people, you should take the vaccine first. Come on, black people. Then be as sus as you want. Okay, if the government was like, hey, we're just gonna release the COVID vaccine in black neighborhoods first, then yeah, there's a cause to be suspicious there. But all the rich people took the vaccine before you. Remember, Congress got inoculated way before any of us did. And then doctors, including black doctors. They're clearly taking a different one. Good one, dude. Come on. This is like not real, right? This is not serious, right? I actually don't know. This person might be serious. Everybody else is taking a different one, clearly. Like, I took a different one because of my white skin. Yeah. I went to the government inoculation site in Crenshaw, and the black nurses that were there, the black volunteers, and also the fan of mine that was there, shouts out to you. I don't know if you're here in the community right now, that I took a photo with. They were in on it. And they gave me the white person COVID vaccine. Yeah. Chat was there. There was one female and one male fan that were there.
Explore a hypothesis and discover the truth. Wakefield agreed to perform the study, but then he never actually did it. Pepys would later go on to say Wakefield was a wanker and a fraud. Eventually, in 2001, after repeatedly ignoring calls to do the study he'd agreed to do, he was told to leave. Check out this article all about... Oh, I love journalism!
Last November, Andrew Wakefield left the Royal Free Hospital by mutual agreement.
Capitalizing on his perceived reputation with the public as a man who had discovered a link between vaccines and autism, Wakefield said,
I have been asked to go because my research results are unpopular.
This was meant to sound conspiratorial, like, they let me go because I'm making MMR look bad. But it seems like...
They always say this, bro. They always, dude. Anti-vaxxers have one speed, dude. Anti-vaxxers have one freaking speed, dude. It's always, oh, well, actually, they're firing me for the truth or banning me for the truth. It's like, no. Sometimes it's because you're a fucking freak and you're a liar, okay? And you're incompetent.
He was just unpopular with people because they could tell he was a fraud and a wanker. At this point, Wakefield's career...
Allow people to make poor decisions. They have every right to sovereignty as you. That's a wonderful take, except your liberties end where mine begin, right? That's like a pretty basic concept. And this is the very definition of your liberties eradicating mine, which is precisely why the state should be taking, making an effort to inoculate everyone. That's how that works. So, sorry. I know that controlling information is fascist? Yes. Well, then I'm a fucking fascist, okay? The people that want to believe the anti-vax bullshit want to believe it. Taking away sources of that information does nothing but validate their suspicion, the counter-argument. Exactly. I already answered this concern, and I told you it's not about the people that like are going to be further validated because they were banned for the truth. It's actually preventing new people from also getting caught up with this fucking brain cancer. Kind of like the brain cancer that you have, where you legitimately think that you're in on something and you legitimately believe that you have like a very unique point of view. You're just a fucking dumbass. Does it make more sense for Palestine and Hamas to give up? I mean, they lost. Oh, you're just a fucking idiot. Oh, God. Oh, never mind, dude. God, why do I have so many fucking... Why? Why do I allow people to make poor decisions? They have every right of sovereignty as you. Just Palestine lost. They should give up. You know, people should have sovereignty, except for the fucking Palestinians who are currently getting genocided by an apartheid state.
I have been subbed to
a colonial apartheid state.
And been
Idiot.
13 times. As a gaming and
People that type like ... when they're fucking writing shit in the chat think they're so cool. They literally have like, I'm actually an anime villain energy. And it's like, no, dude, you sound like a clown. You're not smart or cool. Okay?
As far as real medicine was concerned, was over, and his businesses failed to get off the ground because he no longer had any legitimacy left. What pharmaceutical company or other investor is going to give money to a doctor who just got
Not anti-vax, but there's some weight to certain disorders associated with aluminum microparticle used in every vaccine. It's a neurotoxin with very little research on it that has been demonstrated to stay in the brain for years. You missed the beginning of the video where they... Or no, you missed the ASAP Science video where they disproved that. And they literally took it out of the vaccines despite the fact that it didn't contribute to anything. I'm just letting you know. You're operating on complete false information. Unless you're making this up, because the one you're referencing is Mercury.
fired for refusing to prove the thing he's trying to get funding for even exists. In 2003...
Yeah, Brett Weinstein is one of the biggest annoyances lately with respect to having an mRNA founder. I've looked into Dr. Robert Malone a while ago, and I found very little information on this supposed founder of the mRNA vaccine. Now, first and foremost, the current mRNA vaccine, the one that at least Pfizer uses, is a BioNTech vaccine that was created by a Turkish-German dude, okay? So that's a lie that Dr. Robert Malone is not the guy that, at the very least, founded or did the research on the BioNTech Pfizer vaccine, okay? But yes, I will be looking a little bit closer at the Brett Weinstein bullshit in a little bit.
Dia's investigation was in full swing and beginning to uncover all of this. He also made a really interesting discovery about something that took place during the original study. You know that whole autistic enterocolitis thing? Both his theory...
Why didn't you do an IRL stream or YouTube video the moment you got vaccinated for utmost pro-vaccination awareness? It's a violation of people's privacy. I don't care about my own, but if I go to a mass inoculation site and film it, it's literally illegal. I went to a Los Angeles mass inoculation site. So I would not be able to do that. Plus, I was in my car the entire time. Like, I snuck in. And by the way, I know you think this is an own. I'm sure you actually posted this as an own, right? Like, because you think you're getting one on me. But I actually did film it. I still snuck in a film on my Instagram story. So I did do maximum awareness. So I literally not only posted about it, but I also played the video back on my stream to the maximum number of people in the audience. So... I know that you thought that this was a really, really good own, but unfortunately, you're just a fucking idiot who I guess wasn't there on that day. But thank you. No, it's not a troll. It's like, the way it's written is like, it's illegal, yet the president got vaccinated on camera. The president got vaccinated alone on camera. I'm not saying it's illegal for me to film myself getting vaccinated. I'm saying that it's illegal to fucking film mass vaccination sites because it's a HIPAA violation, considering that there are thousands of other people there that are also getting fucking vaccinated. You can't film your fucking doctor's office either. Like, why do you... God damn it. Dude, the mind of a fucking... Not HIPAA police style LMAO. It's illegal but wrong law. What would it be a violation of? I thought it was. Or I forgot you live in LA County. No, you didn't. You thought that you were getting a good own and it didn't work out. And I forgot now, and I will forget about you. But what I won't forget about is the top of the hour ad break, which is coming right now. If you'd like to no longer see the ads, of course, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do it for $5 or for free by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You get one free Twitch Prime subscription a month. I work in health insurance. It's 10,000% is HIPAA. I thought so too. It's not, I wasn't on public transportation, so that doesn't matter. Yeah, like Joe Biden filming himself getting vaccinated is entirely different than me filming a bunch of other people getting vaccinated around me, or like literally trying to hide that I'm getting vaccinated. And also, I did film myself getting vaccinated, so I don't know what this person wants. Well, I do know what that person wants. They want fucking, they want me to be like, oh no, you owned me. You demonstrated that I am illogical or something. You know what I mean? That's what they want. Anyway, Twitch Prime is free, ad block, VPN, yada yada. Let's fucking go. Here's the ad break now.
He needs to get paid for Sag.
Theories about MMR's danger and his new businesses making testing kits for the disease rested on being able to find the measles virus in the intestines of children with autism.
The question we've been asking is measles virus present in the intestine of these children?
The BBC documentary covered this search extensively, with Wakefield saying in an interview that proving it was there would require finding the RNA of the virus in tissue samples.
The gold standard now is to find the gene of the virus in there.
The big deal here is if Wakefield can't find the gene of the virus, then his theory is wrong. In these interviews, Wakefield is trying to imply that they've only just started looking for the virus, so they haven't found it yet, but that's okay, they've only just started looking, right? This turned out to be a lie. Deer discovered that Wakefield had already looked for it, and it's not there. Dr. Nick Chadwick worked on Wakefield's paper and was a specialist on methods of finding measles RNA in tissue samples.
Have you heard about the vaccine causing tumors in the site of injection? Don't know if I want that in my body. That shit's wild. Yeah, that is wild because it's fake. That's not a real thing. But thank you for the get baited moon joke there. You baited me real hard.
Wakefield actually helped co-author some of his work. So of course, Wakefield had Chadwick look for...
I told you guys already, if you're trying to bait me with anti-vax conspiracies while we're literally covering anti-vax conspiracies, I will most likely ban you for spreading misinformation.
Thanks for reminding
me. Because my argument unironically revolves around the best way to deal with anti-vax conspiracies is to stop it from spreading. Kind of like how you stop fucking COVID from spreading.
The measles RNA in the tissue samples taken from the children in the study. These were the children Wakefield was sure must have measles somewhere in their guts, since he was blaming their autism on it. However, when he looked, he never found any measles whatsoever.
Did you find measles virus in those children?
No. No single case did I find any measles virus in those children.
This means that Wakefield...
No, I don't think censorship itself is a dangerous tool when it comes to things like this. And yes, I don't know what the fucking metric is. And yes, I totally understand the slippery slope of having control over or getting people comfortable with censoring random bullshit. Yes, I understand that I would be the first in line to fucking go in when the government decides to like censor all the shit immediately after the white supremacists or some of the white supremacists. I understand all of that. Okay, but no, I think that right now the best possible thing to do is stop the fucking anti-vax conspiracy networks as best as you can. Prevent them from spreading.
Already knew, before he even published the paper, that measles couldn't be found in the guts of autistic children.
Dr. Wakefield's theory was that it was measles virus itself that was responsible for a bowel disease and then leading on to some kinds of autism. And you found no measles virus.
That's correct.
The final published version of the 1998 study doesn't have Dr. Chadwick's name on it, even though he did a lot of work for it. Chadwick later wrote in a signed declaration that he specifically asked for his name to be left off the paper because he wasn't comfortable with how Wakefield was still pushing his theory, even though he'd found 0 positive tests for measles. By this point, he was already planning to launch a business selling testing kits based on this theory, so he ignored the work in his own lab that disproved him and kept saying he thought measles could cause a bowel disease that leads to autism, and kept looking there for measles for years afterwards. The BBC documentary is about his hunt for the measles virus, because even 4 years after launching his paper, he still hadn't found anything else to back up what he was saying. I actually have to give some credit now to this BBC documentary. Even though they mostly side with Wakefield and assume he's going to find the proof soon, there is one segment where the interviewer's like, wait a second.
Shouldn't you have proved it before you said it?
As I say, proof maybe 10, 15 years away in terms of definitive scientific proof.
So shouldn't you have waited?
No.
Obviously, after discovering all this, Brian Deere had even more questions for Wakefield, which Wakefield was continuing to avoid.
I've been trying now to speak with him for a year. We even wrote, but he didn't reply.
Deere eventually just went to an autism conference Wakefield was speaking at. After his presentation, Deere approached him with questions.
Dr. Wakefield, I'm sorry to interrupt. Brian Deere, Channel 4 Television. Could I talk to you about your research, sir, and your commercial ambitions?
There's something kind of cathartic about just how guilty Wakefield acts here. Like, he's happily hanging around after his talk, casually answering questions from concerned parents and other reporters, and then, the instant he recognizes Brian Deere, the guy he's been actively avoiding for over a year, he turns and leaves the room as fast as he can. Wakefield's only defense—
Ambush journalism, why are you running? Hell yeah, dude. That's a fucking journalist right there, baby. That's a fucking real-ass journalist, dude. Oh no, Sam Cedar, what a fucking nightmare, he said, and then he ran away.
Against his clear financial incentive to discredit MMR is to run away and hope you leave him alone. And since Deere clearly wasn't doing that, Wakefield decided to escalate. A few months after this footage of him heroically running away like a baby from Basic Inquiry was broadcast, Wacky Andy filed a defamation lawsuit against Channel 4, who produced the documentary, the Sunday Times, who published some of Deere's reporting, and, additionally, he sued Brian Deere's personal website, briandeere.com. Can you imagine being that petty? In 2004, 10 of the paper's original 13 authors came forward to publicly retract the interpretation section of the paper. Half a decade after its publication, a vast majority of the people who worked with Wakefield on his paper have gone on record to say they think his conclusions are bollocks. At this point, Wakefield's study's coffin has fallen through the floor from the sheer weight of all the nails that have been hammered in it. So, that's the foundational study of the anti-vaccine movement. A hack frauds
seems legit
bullshit paper claiming that a handful of parents know better than all doctors, so he could sell an alternative competing vaccine that he'd patented, which he thought he was going to make millions selling. The evidence against the movement can't get much worse than that, can it? That was a joke. Part 5, it gets much worse. Brian Deere didn't stop there. Wakefield was trying to sue him to get him to stop digging. And guess what? One of the first rules of investigative reporting is that if they try and sue you for finding things out, you're probably onto something.
I mean, he brought me into the—
By the way, British media outside of this guy is just reactionary garbage, absolutely the fucking worst. And also, in Britland, you have some of the worst fucking libel laws. So you can, and in some instances absolutely do, shut down real investigative journalism. Yes, Britland. I said it on purpose. You can shut down investigative reporting in the discovery phase because of how strict and rigid their fucking libel and slander laws are in Bruvland. It is terrible.
The story by virtue of the fact that years ago he sued me.
He discovered that 2 years before the paper was published, Wakefield had been hired by a lawyer to conduct the study. The lawyer, Richard Barr, had realized there was potentially millions and millions of pounds in bringing a class action lawsuit against MMR manufacturers on behalf of parents of autistic children. But since there was no actual evidence the vaccine did this, he paid Wakefield to find some. Wakefield charged Barr £150 an hour for the time he spent working on the study, eventually totaling over £435,000. In today's money, that's more than $1.1 million. This was more than 8 times his yearly salary at his job at the hospital. 6 months before The Lancet published the study, Barr sent Wakefield a letter saying, and I quote, actually I got Sean to say it,
I have mentioned to you before that the prime objective is to produce unassailable evidence in court so as to convince a court that these vaccines are dangerous.
Oh, okay. This whole thing was bullshit, wasn't it? And hey, remember Jabs? Jabs was involved with the lawsuit, and it turned out their members helped to recruit many of the parents to the study in the first place. I swear to God, this isn't one of the joke logos we made. This is actually the header on their Facebook page. This low-resolution, shitty nightmare. Jackie Fletcher, the founder of Jabs, was also a litigant in the lawsuit. They needed her connections to the dozen or so other parents who actually blamed MMR to be able to do all of this. Some of the parents were even involved with the lawsuit too. It's kind of clever if you think about it. A couple of parents blamed vaccines for their child's autism and wanted to sue its manufacturer, but there was no evidence it wasn't just a coincidence, so they told their opinions to a doctor their lawyer had hired, who would then report those opinions in a paper. And now in court you can say there's scientific evidence implying a link between vaccines and autism, even though the link is just those opinions from before. There's probably a word for this trick. Idea laundering? I don't know. Not all of the parents knew the study was being done to help a lawsuit, but they were all chosen deliberately. However, like we explored earlier, not many parents in 1996 blamed vaccines for autism, so they had to cast a wide net to even find the couple of parents they did. Child 11 wasn't even from England. He was from California. If a contact of Jabs or Richard Barr thought you might suspect vaccines made your child autistic, you and your child were being flown around the world to take part in this study. And even then, some of the parents still turned out not to blame the vaccine. I cannot stress enough what a fucking shambles this paper was. Most of the other doctors working on the study had no idea the guy running it had been paid hundreds of thousands of pounds to discredit MMR. According to Chadwick's later testimony, Wakefield worked separately with each individual scientist working on the study, instead of bringing them all together, which would have been the normal thing to do. This afforded Wakefield a good level of secrecy about his motives. The other scientists must have largely thought they really were looking into a connection between autism and bowel disorders in children. So even the doctors and scientists involved were being lied to and tricked into lending their time and effort to a study being done to help a lawsuit make some lawyers a lot of money. Once all of this came out, Wakefield was, medically speaking, fucked. While he'd been asked to leave his post years earlier, he still had a license to practice medicine in the UK. But amidst all of these discoveries, the General Medical Council began a fitness to practice hearing against Wakefield, going through the records of the study to evaluate whether his behaviour had been ethical.
The row he started dominated the headlines. Now his conduct, not his views, will be making the news.
This hearing would go on to last for 217 days, making it the longest in General Medical Council history, and longer than the O.J. Simpson trial. This is Wakefield's only legitimate achievement. He made such a fucking mess, it took that long to pick through it all. Meanwhile, remember when Wakefield sued Brian Deere? This would turn out to be the worst mistake he ever made in his life. Because Wakefield's libel case was related to accusations of what he did during a study, that meant that the records of what happened in the study were evidence in the case now. I mean, how else were they going to prove it was libel or not? The judge agreed that Dia had to be granted access to the confidential, unredacted medical records of the children from the study. By trying to sue a journalist into shutting up, Wakefield had accidentally given him permission to see everything. Dia recalls being sat in a room with his lawyer, reading the medical records of the children and other records of what happened in the study, while Wakefield's legal team were rushing to get a cab to take them to the courthouse so they could drop the suit and stop him reading it as fast as they could. Dia got home that night to a call from his lawyer saying the case... New firmware available. Thanks, Windows. Dia got home that night to a call from his lawyer telling him the case was over. And as a fun bonus, because of how lawsuits work in the UK, Wakefield had to pay Dia's legal costs. The check for which Dia keeps proudly displayed on his website. But Dia wasn't done yet. Wakefield had just dropped a lawsuit to stop him finding things out.
But in the context of that lawsuit, a great deal of information was disclosed to me by Wakefield's lawyers, and it was quite clear I had to continue.
Dia continued his research and also attended many of the GMC's hearings about Wakefield's conduct, which discussed many of the same records he just dropped a lawsuit to hide. And based on all of this, he put the pieces together and figured out exactly what happened during the study. The result of his work is an absolutely incredible series of articles first published in the British Medical Journal. There's another fucking firmware! Why is there so much firmware? Dia figured out who some of the previously anonymous parents of the children in the study were, and showed some of them what the study said about their children, and it turned out the paper was lying. For example, he showed the medical records to the father of child 11.
And he looked at the paper and he just looked at what it said about his own child, and he said, that's not true. And that was one of the parents of one of these children in the paper.
In a correspondence with Dia, he literally wrote,
"The Lancet article indicates that autistic symptoms started at 15 months, a week after the MMR, which is completely inaccurate. My son's autistic behavior started 2.5 to 3 months after the MMR, which was administered to him at 15 months. The bottom line is, if my son is indeed patient 11, then the Lancet article made a false assertion that his symptoms set in immediately after the MMR, in service of some attorney's efforts to prove causation that, unbeknownst to me, apparently drove this research."
He told Dia Wakefield had said his son was the 13th child they'd looked at and wasn't included in the paper, and that's why none of the information in the study seemed to describe his son. According to Brian Dia, Wakefield had rewritten his son's medical history and lied to him to cover it up. And this wasn't the only parent who had their story changed by Wakefield. You see, for the study to be useful in Barr's lawsuit, they needed to establish a temporal link with the vaccine. Since this is the age autism usually develops, they needed it to be within 14 days, and if possible even closer. I mean, otherwise it might seem like it was just a coincidence. Which it is, but like child 11, the onset of autism wasn't convenient enough in almost any of the other children. The table suggests that 8 of the 12 children's parents claimed the symptoms happened within 14 days. But according to Brian Dia's reporting from the medical council hearings, many of the parents never said this, and most of the children's medical records put their symptoms starting way after this time period, with some of them showing symptoms of what could have been autism before they were vaccinated. Almost every child's autistic symptoms either started way too late to be useful in the lawsuit, or way too soon. Wakefield just lied and changed the times and allegations of the parents around until the paper said what he needed it to say. This is the thing that makes so much of what he said during the scare really fucking infuriating. Like, he would constantly bring up how he was just listening to the parents and reporting what they were saying.
We believe, we trust in the parent's story.
If you think there was a problem with my shitty study, you're calling all of those parents liars. How dare you?
When they say to you, I believe my child regressed after the MMR vaccine, do you take that seriously or not? Damn right you do. Damn right you do.
He got all high and mighty about how you need to believe the parents when he had made up most of what the parents had said. And the media fucking ate it up too.
Andrew Wakefield is one of the few doctors to listen to parents who believe their children were damaged by MMR.
He's the only doctor who listens to the lies that he wrote for a lawsuit he was being paid to help with. Fucking hell! Remember that new syndrome Wakefield came up with? Now we know why he did that. To pursue a class action lawsuit against the vaccine's manufacturers and convince a court of the vaccine's danger, to quote a judge, Barr needed it to cause a distinct and specific clinical syndrome. If all the kids just had random bowel disorders, there wouldn't be a clear enough link to the vaccine. But if they all had a fancy new disease, he could argue they were all caused by the same thing. Wakefield invented autistic enterocolitis, which he repeatedly called a genuinely new syndrome in the media, so the lawsuit could justify itself. Of course, to do this, all the children's bowel disorders would have to actually look similar enough that they could reasonably be called the same thing. The paper listed 11 of the 12 children having some form of non-specific colitis, creating the illusion that they all had a similar disorder. According to the actual medical records, only 3 of them had any major inflammation whatsoever. The study had a pathologist on board to determine what sort of bowel diseases the children had. When she and her team ruled out colitis in over half of the children, which would obviously have been bad for the lawsuit, Wakefield brought in a second pathologist who had worked with him before to run the tests again. When the second pathologist didn't even make mention of colitis in his reports, Wakefield ignored both of them and just wrote in the paper that 11 of the 12 children had similar non-specific colitis. Wakefield went over the heads of everyone on his team who didn't find any colitis and decided by himself that all the children had a special new gut disorder that causes autism. What the fuck? But that's not all! You know how most of the children in the study were diagnosed with a form of autism? And how, like, that's the entire point, that most of them had autism? Like, that's the whole thing? Well, it turns out that some of the children reported as autistic in the study didn't even have autism! Child 7 was never diagnosed with autism before, during, or after this study. He was referred to the study because Child 6, his brother, was diagnosed with autism. Wakefield reported that this child was also autistic and started showing signs of autism 24 hours after being vaccinated. I mean, why not if you're just making shit up, right? Child 12 had also never been given an autism diagnosis. The developmental specialist who diagnosed them said they had an impairment in respect of language, but did...
This is what is known as the lying technique. It's incredibly effective. Incredible. Incredible stuff. But like I said, I really hope he ties it back to the current anti-vaxxer shit. Because again, this stuff is not going to stick with a lot of people who are vaccine hesitant right now. Because they don't even know about the MMR. They've already probably taken it. And a lot of them will literally turn around and say that... a lot of them will literally turn around and say that, oh, well, I don't care about the older vaccines. I want to know about this one because it's new. Does that make sense?
Did not diagnose them with autism. Wakefield, who, just to remind you, is a gut surgeon with no psychiatric expertise whatsoever, decided this was enough for him to say they were autistic. And since their parents didn't blame the vaccine, he said loss of speech development and deterioration in language skills noted at 16 months, and made sure to mention the child had MMR at 15 months, just so you know it started soon after the vaccine, even though the parents didn't blame it. Oh, and while he was there, he diagnosed them with chronic non-specific colitis too. You can see why Wakefield dropped his lawsuit as fast as he could when Deere got permission to read these, right? This is likely why he never did the larger study when he was asked to. Once this fraudulent paper was out, all the extra attention and scrutiny he gained would have made it impossible to lie and get away with it again. To this day, no attempt to recreate Wakefield's findings has ever succeeded. The paper that started the obsession with the connection between autism and vaccines was a total fraud, crafted by a lawyer and the opportunistic doctor who he bought. And in the last 20 years, data from millions and millions of children all over the world indicates no link whatsoever. The only paper that came close to showing that link is a study so full of lies that even before it was out, scientists who worked on it were asking to have their names taken off. The paper wasn't just badly made, it wasn't just questionable, it wasn't bold and controversial. It was a lie for money. But the worst thing about this study was that somehow, even that wasn't the worst thing. Hey folks, the next section deals with some pretty heavy stuff, so if you're not into stories of child abuse, skip to the next chapter. As we've already explored, Wakefield was trying to discover a new disease linking autism and bowel disorders. So, during the study, he did everything he could to find that link. For this reason, each child underwent a rough battery of invasive procedures. The children spent a full week at the hospital, during which they were frequently sedated, given laxatives, had blood samples taken, and then they were given colonoscopies, lumbar punctures where a needle is inserted between the bones of your spine to extract fluid, MRI scans, again under sedation, electroencephalograms where wires and electrodes are run to the patient's head, and a variety of other uncomfortable procedures. A doctor once described this list of tests as a lot even for adults to go through, never mind autistic children. Now, there's this thing in medicine called informed consent. Doctors can't just do invasive procedures on people. You have to inform the patient of the potential risks and dangers, and you can only move forward with their approval. In this study, the children were very young, and some of them, emphasis on some, were autistic. This meant the children's parents had to give informed consent for them. Andrew Wakefield wrote a handout to parents to go with the consent form, describing the procedures and their potential risks. Circare, a human rights organization, acquired a copy of this handout, and while the form does mention almost every procedure Wakefield intended to do, it doesn't mention any of the risks associated with them. I'm serious. The word risk is literally not written anywhere on the form. So let's talk about the risks of some of these procedures. For those of you who don't know, a colonoscopy is when a large tube with a camera in it is inserted through your rectum all the way up into your guts. Normally, this is an important and safe diagnostic procedure. It's the most accurate test for rectal and colon cancer, and this saves a lot of lives. Sorry, I'm going to take a moment and turn this video into a public service announcement for colonoscopies. Get one. I'm being serious. If you're an adult, especially over the age of 45, and you've never had a colonoscopy, please seriously consider getting one. I've lost an uncle and a close friend to bowel cancer at shockingly young ages. It's a really common cause of death, and if they catch it early, it's treatable. Colonoscopies are perfectly safe and often life-saving procedures. But in children whose intestines are smaller and weaker and harder to maneuver in, there are risks of serious complications.
I was coming back on my way to make a joke about how he's turning this into a colonoscopy seminar, and then by the time I got back, he's already talking about his own personal relationship with people who have gotten colonoscopies. I started walking over. Anyway, okay, chatters, when will this turn around to the modern day shit? Because like this is hyper specific, and it's a really interesting story. But oh, for the record, a thing that people will literally say. A thing that people will literally say, for the record, is, oh, actually, what are you against scientific research? Why are you against research? This guy just wanted to fucking figure out if these autistic kids were getting, they got autism from the vaccine. It's just research. Why would you stop it?
Complications. The scope can puncture the intestine, which causes bacteria from the gut to leak out and cause infection and other serious internal damage. Risks of complications are significantly higher for children 5 years or younger.
We try to be very careful to come around corners.
And these risks are genuine. As part of the attempts to find more evidence later and follow up on the original 1998 study, a 5-year-old autistic boy was given a colonoscopy that went exceedingly wrong, and was left fighting for his life with multiple organ failure after his bowel was perforated in 12 places during the procedure. There was no medical reason this child needed this procedure. He was just being used as a guinea pig to find any proof they could that autistic enterocolitis was real. The Royal Free had to pay almost £500,000, roughly $1 million today, in damages to the boy and his parents for causing lifelong disabilities that required full-time care. His parents reported that when they gave consent, they had not been told of the risks. If this is true, what happened here is an assault. They almost killed this child. And in the 1998 study, they inflicted this procedure on children as young as 3. Wakefield's consent form insists that these procedures are usually tolerated well by children, and that it is entirely painless.
It gives zero mention of the very real risks of inserting several feet of a scope into a child. It even says, if your child becomes distressed or the procedure proves too difficult, it will be performed under general anesthetic. The form doesn't mention the risks of this anesthetic either. This normal consent form for a colonoscopy makes incredibly clear that there are risks of perforation and bleeding, and the possible adverse reactions to being sedated too. In case you're watching, Andy, this is what informed consent looks like, you piece of shit. Wakefield needed these parents to consent to these procedures. His paycheck was resting on finding something in the bowels of these children that could possibly point to the disease he was trying to invent. So he wrote a handout that conveniently didn't mention how risky some of these procedures actually were. And from other accounts given to Dear about what happened during the study, the children's experiences were far from safe and painless.
Nurses were leaving and saying they didn't like what was being done to these children. Junior doctors were unhappy. It needed 3 people to hold these kids down in some cases just to have blood taken. These are difficult children to explain to what is going on. I feel very sorry for the children who I feel were being abused.
Children were fainting and vomiting and trying to resist the testing. They had to be force-fed some of the fluids required for the tests. They couldn't give one child their lumbar puncture because he was uncontrollably vomiting from all the other procedures that had been done on him, and he was sent home. Another child's lumbar puncture went so badly that he had to be rushed to a different hospital for treatment. If you do stuff like this to kids in your study for no clinically justified reason, that's child abuse! Wakefield treated the children as if they had genuine bowel conditions. To that end, almost all of them were given anti-inflammatory drugs for the disorders he'd made up for them. These medications often have an increased risk to children, particularly under the age of 6. The risks of adverse events includes life-threatening complications, including increased bleeding, increased risk of infections, and other severe side effects. Some of these kids had problems communicating, which would make reporting any side effects they were experiencing very difficult, further increasing the risk of severe problems if something went wrong. Considering that barely any of these children actually had bowel disorders, Wakefield was essentially putting children at risk of the side effects of these drugs for no reason, while he looked for proof of the disease he was trying to invent to make a lawsuit look good. The medical council also discovered that during the study, Wakefield gave an experimental drug to one of the children without waiting for approval from an ethics committee. The drug was called dialysable lymphocyte extract transfer factor. Wait a second. The paper is a pilot study on the effects of a substance called dialysable lymphocyte extract on children with autism. Did Wakefield test one of Hbomberguy's autism-curing drugs on one of the children in his study? What the fuck? Thanks, Andy. I'm sure whatever you gave those kids was perfectly safe. I mean, if this genius was behind it.
Where does that come from?
From my bone marrow.
To convince the child's father to agree to let him administer this drug to his child, Wakefield offered him a job as managing director of a company making and selling the drug. Okay, my producer told me I can't say that. There's no way of proving that happened behind closed doors. So just to clarify, we don't have evidence that Wakefield offered a man a job to give his son a drug. It might just be a coincidence that the father became managing director of a company that would profit from selling the drug if it worked. Maybe he just happened to have equity in the company that would be making the drug that was experimentally given to his child. We will never know for sure how that happened. Let's just walk through that again. Andrew Wakefield might have offered a cushy job to a guy to let him experiment on his kid with a drug that he probably got from a guy who got fired for stealing medical supplies, wasn't a doctor anymore, and thought he could cure autism using his bone marrow.
Oh hey.
The aristocrats! On top of all of this, during the investigation, the medical council found out that during one of his own children's birthday parties, Andrew Jeremy Wakefield lined up all the other kids at the party and offered them money for their blood. I have to try and explain this. In order to find any potentially useful evidence for his study for the lawsuit, he needed the blood of non-autistic children so he could compare it and see what he could find. But to get the blood, instead of like putting in a request for non-autistic children's blood, or like calling for volunteers to come to the hospital and give their blood, and without running it past an ethics committee, he offered his children's friends £5 for their blood. And no, that's not like an allegation that someone might have made up. Wakefield told people that story at a conference in 1999.
When we did this at that party, 2 children fainted, one fell up over his mother. But people said to me,
Azerbaijan.
Children won't come back to Israel.
At the hearing, he claimed to have made up the part about throwing up and fainting for dramatic effect. His best defense of his extremely unethical and weird behavior was that he made some of it up. Shockingly, telling the ethics committee that he was a fucking liar didn't help his case. Speaking later in an interview, Wakefield defended the birth...
Incredible stuff, dude. Incredible stuff. Just bragging about doing insane shit to massive audiences.
Fog.
So what I don't understand about this is that, like, Hbomberguy said at some point, I hope Andrew is, like, watching this video, and if you are, and I'm a little confused, is he, like, implying that Andrew is watching from jail, or is there, like, a jail in the UK jails? Do they have access to YouTube? Maybe they do. Or did this guy who literally did child abuse, like tortured children for financial gain, he didn't go to jail? There's no way he's in jail, right? He's in jail for pretty much the rest of his life, I hope.
Blood bribes, saying it was all totally fine.
The only problem was that it did not have an approval from the hospital ethics committee. That does not make it unethical.
He's trying to, actually, a fucking ethics board. After reviewing all of this, in 2010, the longest inquiry in General Medical Council history concluded that Andrew Wakefield had failed.
Guys, I don't know. I haven't seen anything about this dude, but I'm like 99% sure that he's probably already peddling anti-vax conspiracies in the United States of America. Psychopaths like this come to America and rebuild their careers all the fucking time.
Failed in his duties as a doctor, acted against the interests of his patients, and was, you know, a lying con man. Sorry, that one was me. Nice. And he was struck off the medical register, making him no longer able to practice medicine, and officially not a doctor. So whenever someone calls him a doctor in videos now, they're making a mistake. Look, I don't want to single this guy out, but you don't put doctor in his name. He's not a doctor now. Even in the documentary he made about himself in 2016, he can't put doctor in front of his name. He has to put MBBS. Well, we know he's at least one kind of BS, if you know what I'm saying. To quote the council's charges, he showed callous disregard for any distress or pain the children might suffer. That same year, The Lancet finally formally retracted the original study. According to The Lancet's editor, Richard Horton, it was utterly clear, without any ambiguity at all, the statements in the paper were utterly false. Well done, Richard. Here's a round of applause for you. Better too late than never, I guess. That's not really an expression, is it? The conclusion of the inquiry is protested by Wakefield's remaining supporters.
We're with Wakefield! We're with Wakefield!
While a news crew attempts to interview one of his critics, one of his supporters attempts to shout him down and make sure he can't say anything, while another off-screen holds up a book insisting it is they who are being silenced. The irony is, apparently, lost on them. Wakefield appeared before his flock to say this was all completely unjust.
And I invite anyone to examine the contents of these proceedings and come to their own conclusions.
I think we just did, buddy. Wakefield did lose a lot of his popularity when the extent of his abuse...
I love that when it's like, hey, what's up, folks? They're banning this man. It's called censorious behavior. The government should not be touching scientific experiments. Are you fucking kidding me? This man All this man needs is a goddamn Yelp review, brother. He doesn't need to be disbarred or have his doctorate taken away from him. It's not like the years of medical research went away. That's what some of you fucking dumbasses sound like whenever you literally make the argument that these outlets should not stop the spread of disinformation. Hbomberguy in there. Wow, this chat moves so quickly I can hide in plain sight. Hope people like the video. We fucking hate it, dude. No, I'm kidding. Wow, I'm sub now. What up, Hbomberguy? You can ban anyone who talks shit about you, okay? You're a mod already. Get in there. Just clap them. Clap their ass cheeks, dude. Also, you should do a video on the dozen misguided influencers spread the most anti-vaccination content, like these American ones. I guess you're gonna get to that in a second. That's what people keep telling me.
Abuse and fraud was made known, but he still had a few dedicated fans, often the parents of autistic children who'd followed him so far that they refused to accept what he did. To Wakefield, these desperate people are the perfect market. I suspect the main reason he turned up in the last few days of his hearing was to advertise the book he'd written all about it on national TV. The book alleges that the medical council hearings are just trying to crush him to protect vaccines. He titled the book Callous Disregard after one
of course, American media.
All about it on national TV. The book alleges that the medical
Of course American media would have him on to hear his side of things, dude. I fucking hate this country, okay? We deserve all the bad things and none of the good things. CNN, by the way. Hey guys, remember, you believe everything you see on CNN. You're just following CNN's point of view. Ray! Yeah. Both sides of the same Andes, dude. Fuck this place. I swear to God.
Council hearings are just trying to crush him to protect vaccines. He titled the book Callous Disregard after one of the council's comments about him. It's trying to be an ironic reference, like he's accusing mainstream medicine of callously disregarding the victims of MMR. But I don't think he considered the implications of quoting a doctor pointing out he abused children on the cover of a book with a big picture of his face on it. It's a real if I did it situation. Also in the dedication, he thanks his long-suffering wife, who's with him here on the cover. She's not his wife anymore, though. I guess she suffered enough, and like separate vaccines before it, Wakefield made sure to recommend his book in every interview he got.
These numbers, the dates were all fabricated to sort of make a case.
Dr. Gupta, please, I urge you, go and read my book. You will understand it. Many people don't.
It's very funny watching him try to sell his merchandise now that everyone knows he's a fraud.
If you read my book, you will be able to read the truth. And has the BMJ read my book? Have the doctors who apparently looked at all the records read my book? No, because the truth is in that book.
Well, sir, I've read Brian Deere's report, which is incredibly extensive. Sir, I'm not here to let you pitch your book. I'm here to have you answer questions.
If you read the record that I have said...
This is literally why you don't have these motherfuckers, once they've been deplatformed, on to talk about this shit, dude. That dude should not have his social media privileges. I'm straight up being honest with you. That dude's social media privileges should be revoked. He should never get coverage in the media unless it's someone talking over him. He should never, ever, ever be able to fucking talk about this shit. And here you are platforming him again. You absolute dingus. There's a difference between me covering it after the fact by looking at like an in-depth analysis of how much fuck shit he's done versus having him on for a fucking interview where he can shill his fucking book. Why are you so stupid? How do you not understand how this works? Oh my God, dude. Please, please, just like literally get the MMR vaccine. Maybe you will have like some form of fucking brain thing that just rapidly fires your synapses, okay? Fuck.
Out in the book, you will see the truth.
But sir, if you're lying, then your book is also a lie.
Wakefield's defense against Brian Deere's allegations, now that suing him to shut him up has failed disastrously, is to say Deere is a hitman paid by vaccine manufacturers to ruin his career.
He is a hitman. He's been brought in to take me down because they are very, very concerned about the adverse reactions to vaccines that are occurring in children.
Wait a minute, sir. Let me just stop you right there. You say he's a hitman and he's been brought in by they. Who is they? Who is he a hitman for? This is an independent journalist who's won many awards.
Yeah, he's And he's, you know, who brought this man in? Who is paying this man? I don't know.
Who is behind Brian Deer's reporting? Follow the money. Also, buy my book, please.
Wakefield went on to claim later in the interview that you're being paid by the Association of British Pharmaceutical Industries, are you?
No, I'm not.
In 2011, New York Times Magazine staff writer Susan Dominus caught up with Wakefield. Though Wakefield presents himself to her as someone whose career was destroyed for going against the dogma that vaccines are safe, Dominus is careful to point out that he does this while signing copies of his book for an enormous line of loyal followers, one of whom is a tearful mother who blames herself for not preventing her child's autism. At the time the article was written, Wakefield lived in a beautiful house in a reclusive and expensive neighborhood in Austin.
No! No! Ah! I hate this! There is no God. There is no justice in this fucking world, dude. Just seeing the fucking house, it's just like so much worse. Why did you put this in here, Hbomberguy?
And the article was written, Wakefield lived in a beautiful...
Oh! Oh, dude, he lives in a fucking compound, dude. He's dating a supermodel? What? I'm gonna cry. Model Elle Macpherson is dating shamed anti-MMR Dr. Andrew. Oh my god, dude. Are you fucking kidding me? This guy fucks supermodels and lives in a gigantic mansion in Austin, Texas? Fuck this world. I swear to God, it's the worst, dude.
Fog.
House in a reclusive and expensive neighborhood in Austin, Texas.
My man, read my book. His way into fucking prominence in America. Literally the land for charlatan con men, dude. We are the dumbest country on the fucking planet. The UK was like, get the fuck out of here, bruv. Get out of here, bruv. You can no longer be a doctor here. And then the United States was like, hey, yeah, brother. Get the fuck over here. You peddle that snake oil right here, brother. We fucking love that shit. We hate reading unless it's fucking anti-vax bullshit. You could literally do the same, but you'd rather stay inside sitting in front of a camera while wearing your cummy-covered sweatpants? Yeah, I know. It's true.
Surrounded by many acres of hills and forest.
You can almost believe you're in Tuscany,
he says of the view from his back deck. The book made him a decent amount of money, as have his many paid speaking engagements at anti-vaccine conferences, where he's lauded as the celebrity who got the movement started. There's the hundreds of thousands of pounds he got paid to do the study, of course, and the multiple documentaries about him and his life can't have been too shabby for him. It's genuinely shocking how obviously he's just grifting anti-vaccine people for as much money as he can. His 2016 film, Vaxxed, is available at a discount on his website if you buy it in a pack of 10. Give a copy to your local legislators, educators, and medical professionals. Wakefield wants his followers to pay him to do advertising for him. When I look back at footage of the last day of Wakefield's hearing, I'm inevitably looking back at myself 10 years ago when I saw the same footage live on TV. At the time, I saw these people as Wakefield's defenders, but in a way, they were also his victims. For a decade now, since I was a teenager, I've been thinking about this woman with the sign saying, "Don't stifle uncomfortable science." I remember I first noticed her because I saw her and thought, wait, is she wearing a Playboy scarf? Surely the most uncomfortable thing for these people here must be the possibility the man they're here to defend has lied to them for money. For someone who'd sided with Wakefield during the scare, accepting that he had lied would mean taking on some of the guilt for helping to spread it. One of the worst things about Wakefield's actions is he's made these people complicit. Maybe Wakefield actually cares about these people, maybe not. But either way, their money spends just the same. I wonder how many of these people bought his book.
He wasn't even an anti-vaxxer, but he was advocating for a separate vaccine, which he had the patent for, but sure, whatever. Wait, are you defending this guy? Oh, okay, you're not. Yeah, it's even worse, actually. He's right. It's even worse. He wasn't even like a fucking full-blown anti-vaxxer. He was a anti-vaxxer. He's an anti-vaxxer now because he no longer has a patent that I assume, workable fucking vaccination.
Books or his documentaries. I wonder if any of them stop and think about how they've made him rich. Some of these people are extremely vulnerable, parents of children with disabilities, some of which require full-time care, who fell for Wakefield because he was offering them an explanation for why these things happen. It brings me no joy to tell you, they paid for this view.
We're with Wakefield. We're with Wakefield. We're with Wakefield. We're with Wakefield.
At the end of all this, I ask the eternal question asked of every major fraudster in history. How could someone do all this? Cause all this fear and doubt that has led to real, tangible harm against your fellow human beings? Why would someone do that?
Bro, literally, go back like one frame, and there's the answer. My man is literally smashing supermodel cheeks while being British, okay? That is a privilege afforded to like only famous British people. You know, the ones that can overcome being British. Meanwhile, he's out here fucking writing anti-vax books with that same ugly ass type font and clapping supermodel ass cheeks while living in a fucking bunker, dude.
Money, thank you for watching.
Oh, yeah.
There's probably a lot of people you could blame for anti-vaccine beliefs getting as far as they have. The anxieties people have right now didn't come from nowhere. Wakefield's legacy is built into the very DNA of modern vaccine hesitancy. Or the RNA, am I right? Nice one, Kat. It's very clever. Whenever you try to trace a trend of skepticism about vaccines far enough, it almost always leads back to the fear and anxiety that started in 1998 and the men behind it. Take, for example, Bill Maher. Maher is a proponent of the possible link between vaccines and autism, and frequently has anti-vaccine activists on his show. Granted, he also has people on who think that's ridiculous, so that's kind of like being fair and balanced. His general stance is that vaccines can—
It's not. That's not being fair and balanced. Okay? Like, having a Holocaust denier, which is a Nazi, go up against a historian of the Holocaust can come across like a fun fucking... No, I know that's a joke. I know that's a joke. I know Hbomberguy is joking. I'm not talking about Hbomberguy. I know he's being ironic. I'm just mad at this notion of centrism in the media. Okay? I'm speaking over what Hbomberguy is talking about. I'm not criticizing Hbomberguy. We believe in the same shit. Okay? Shut up. Okay, let's just...
Can be good, but he doesn't really go for them because he's got a better idea.
I am not a germ theory denier. I understand that germs and viruses cause diseases. I may have been a little cocky about it because I discovered from firsthand experience that I could stave them off better with proper nutrition.
If your child dies of measles, it's because he didn't eat his vegetables. Bubonic plague? Skip a trip to McDonald's, sheeple. Throughout the years, Bill has repeated over and over his distrust of vaccines and the possible side effects they might pose. I've tried to find an example of him citing a source or giving some kind of data, but no, it's always this general sense that people think something might be wrong.
There's all these parents who say, I had a normal child, got the vaccine. This story keeps coming up.
Lots of parents are saying stuff, and that's basically evidence. And of course, there's
also normal kids, dude.
the old standout. Lots of people feel like me.
I was attacked for saying we should look into this, and I don't believe in it, and lots of people feel the same way.
I've heard a lot of stuff about feelings.
He did get fucking vaccinated, though, and then got COVID. But he did get vaccinated. And I think he even urged others to get the COVID vaccine, too, if I'm not mistaken.
being more important than facts. So this is basically science, right?
Bill, you having us on the show and rehashing all these problems you got yourself into on your last show, it's like going on a date and talking about your ex-wife.
If an intellectual titan like Bill Maher thinks vaccines might be dangerous, he must believe it for a good reason. I did a lot of digging on this, and I found a time when he made a concrete scientific claim about vaccines. In 2005, he was interviewed on Larry King Live. This isn't footage of that interview, I couldn't find footage of this one, but there is a transcript on the CNN website. During this interview, they discussed the flu shot, which King had been taking for 25 years. Maher tells him the best defense against disease is to have
Yeah. For the record, and this is before Hbomberguy made this, or this might have been after Hbomberguy made this because this is a relatively recent news article, but he did get the COVID vaccine, and and he now has to suck it up and fucking defend it.
A strong immune system. I guess that's where the proper nutrition comes in, and says that the flu shot is actually bad for your immune system. He cites a strong distrust of what he calls Western medicine, which is a bit of a Eurocentric misnomer. A lot of non-Western countries develop vaccines and other modern medicine, you know? Whatever, he doesn't care. The conversation then turns to the avian flu, which was a real concern at the time. Bill states that he's not worried about bird flu and gives a fascinatingly vague list of reasons why. First of all, it's not going to happen, which was a very clever insight, right up until something like that really did happen. That's why people were worried about it, Bill. Second of all, the fact it is mutating shows that if you did come up with a vaccine tomorrow, it wouldn't be effective against the disease when the disease comes, because the disease is always morphing and mutating. Bill is such a good public speaker. The fact that vaccines actually help stop the disease from spreading and therefore developing those mutations in the first place is lost on him. Well, it was, but he got vaccinated for COVID-19, so clearly he sees the value now. This is attached to an announcement that he got the virus, so this week's show has to be cancelled. Apparently he's asymptomatic and feels fine. So I guess vaccines are pretty good, aren't they? Considering how at-risk unvaccinated 65-year-olds are for this virus, I'm really glad he got vaccinated for his sake. But they should probably just cancel his show completely. I mean, we don't want to risk losing a national treasure. The reality is, a lot of pseudo-libertarian skepticism about Western medicine instantly falls apart the second it has to interact with reality, where people really do die of diseases. For example, the man he is speaking to. Larry King passed away this year of complications from COVID-19. Anyway, Maher tells King that vaccines are just a trick to get money. It's just a way to funnel money into the pharmaceutical companies. Follow the money. You'll find out where the bird flu is. If bird...
You want to know what the fucking crazy thing is? The people that talk about how Big Pharma loves vaccines because vaccines make them money, it's a way to funnel money, all this shit, will never make the argument that, okay, we should eradicate the notion, the very concept of profit from the healthcare industry. Not only does Big Pharma usually hate vaccines because it's a one and done, okay, limited inoculation. That's why, like, Pfizer is already currently trying to fucking petition the federal government to put booster shots out when the CDC and the FDA are like, hold the fuck on, dog, chill out. But also, not a single one of these pieces of shit ever turn around and go, yeah, we need socialism. Like, if you or a loved one feels like they have a lot of Big Pharma skepticism and that's leading them to be anti-vaccine, you have to fucking socialism pill them on healthcare. Yeah, I agree. Take profit out. We 100% need to take profit out. It's crazy. It's crazy, right?
Hold on.
Don't you think it's crazy that those people that are telling you, though, that, like, the vaccines are fake and telling you, like, you know, we need to fucking, eliminate vaccines entirely because Big Pharma is bad? Don't you feel weird
Got the vaccine and
that
now
those
I'm 13
very
months
same
pregnant.
people are always right-wing and not a fan of socialized medicine? That's kind of strange. Also, here's some fucking colloidal silver.
Bird flu had got bad enough, you can guarantee Ma would have paid top dollar for the vaccine. Anyway, the discussion goes downhill even further for Ma when King points out that vaccines are great, and polio was virtually eradicated thanks to vaccination. Bill gives this...
Let me tell you something. Larry King knows vaccines are great, and polio was eradicated, because he was fucking alive back then.
Ah, beautiful reply. Yes, but, you know... There are many books out that will, and I'm not well enough versed on it to talk about it, that will indicate that there are other reasons why it was. And a lot of diseases that have been, they say, whoa, this was eliminated because of a vaccine, they find out, well, no, actually, the country got toilets, and that's what happened.
What?
I think Bill really does a good job of summing up a lot of people's beliefs about vaccination here. Ma thinks it's smart to be skeptical about vaccines, right up until there's consequences for himself, of course, but his explanations are all unfounded and unscientific. The best he can say is there's probably books out there that prove he's right.
And hence, this is why I advocate for passports. Bill Maher's a vaccine skeptic. Why did he take the vaccine? I don't think it was out of genuine fear. I think it was because he had to. Otherwise, he was not going to be able to fucking go to work. And he loves money. So vaccine passports would create that force that is absolutely necessary. I'm not saying fucking literally come in with the military, guns drawn, and forcibly inoculate every fucking American who decides not to take the vaccine. But I think it's a very good starting point. And the rest of them that still don't want to get vaccinated, because a lot of people I assume will want to get vaccinated once they realize there is actually...
Yo, 2 months with my fab himbo. Thanks for transforming me into.
There will actually be consequences. They will go out and get the vaccine. The rest of them, put them in a fucking, put them in the same area, Florida, and just cough there one time. Just bring in someone with COVID and just, lock them up in Florida, cough on them one time, let God sort it out. Okay? Come on, bro. You got a healthy immune system, brother. Come on. You got this. You got this, brother. Hell yeah. Voila, Florida. And put them all in fucking Florida. Let them duke it out.
Maybe, but he's not read them. This isn't skepticism. This is ignorance.
I love the people from Florida saying, like, don't send them here. Dog, you're literally in Florida. It already is there. Like, what do you mean? It's literally like a vector for the disease spread currently in America right now. Like, your streets.
Your sex slave is back. 8 months. Hassle.
Armenian genocide 2.0. I didn't say do that to Armenians. I said do that to people who don't want to fucking take the vaccine. Okay? Check out Mizkifs. The fuck's he doing now?
I feel like that's
I'm not telling
familiar.
you who that is. You have to guess.
I've seen this person before, but I don't know where. Who is this?
Keep guessing. Chat, don't tell her. Spam. Don't look. Who is it?
Oh,
It's
she's
Clint.
Ah, damn it. She thought of it herself.
Yeah.
oh, she's doing a list of who's the hottest. Sex in the City would still bang. Hey, you all right? I don't think so. No way, no how. I don't know the person well enough. They're beat as fuck.
Come on,
I'm
he's
stealing
so
this content.
What?
Fuck it, dude. I'm gonna give Mizkif a taste of his own
He's
medicine.
so hot. Are you serious?
You right.
God damn it. The way he looks at me whenever I'm in chat and...
Who is this? He's cute. Who is this?
Oh my god, that's Carl
Clint.
Jacobs.
Clint is hot. I don't know why she did that to Clint.
Who's that?
Clint's actually
He's
hot.
like some new kid on the block. Minecraft kid.
He's cute.
Oh, come on, dude.
He's cute.
He's a tryhard spammer.
I don't care. He's cute.
Oh yeah, I forgot. It's just only by looks. Okay, all right, Carl. We see you over there.
Who is this?
That's plastic foil.
I already put him there.
Wait, what? Foil? That's fucked up.
I'm sorry.
Foil, come on, that's so
Sorry,
fucked.
Chad. Sorry, Chad.
That's so fucked. Ugh, Foil.
I don't know who he is, though.
Foil's one of the greatest streamers of all time right now. He's on the up and coming. I'm telling you, you're gonna want to bank him one day.
I don't bang people just for money.
Lame. Canute. No way. What?
Oh my god! Oh, very
You
good.
think Canute's hot?
You find me? You find me hot? That's very hot to me as well.
A lot of things about Canute, so like maybe some of the guys that I don't.
I'm from Norway.
Like reference for me to keep like putting all their things in perspective. Does that make sense?
Yes. So since you know Canute,
I like his personality.
even though we're based this just
I know he's mature. He's got a kid, so he's like, he's like a grown up.
Right.
I like grown up, but I also like man-childs in a way as well. They're just different kind of fun.
You like his Discord humor. He's very
like
fun.
I could still bang this guy one day, and I could still bang this guy another day. Variety. The man-child, the
So
grown-up.
you're variety in streamers, is what you're saying.
Yes,
Instead of variety
I
streamer.
variety.
No, I respect that. I really do.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is Slick. Now keep in mind he knows where you are.
Where's Slick though? Is that really? That's not Slick.
Yeah, that's Slick. It's the worst.
Is Mizkif currently wearing the shirt that I got Nick to buy for himself? Is that what's going on currently?
This is one of the biggest leeches on Twitch. You have no idea who he is. He's irrelevant, and he's a
Who's
stupid
that?
Mario Kart stream sniper. That's Seti.
Oh, Sunny's kind of cute.
Austin show.
Damn, I know he's gay or bi, but
What?
like he's up there.
Let's go!
Yeah.
Bro!
He's hot.
You think Austin's hot?
The team, dude. The fucking team. If she puts Will up there too, is stacked. I have the best fucking squad on Twitch.
So you like the fact that he's like Austin's like very
We're on top, baby.
feminine.
The
The
boys.
first time I went on his show, he actually told me this story about how when he was young, he used to fuck his couch.
Yeah, we've all heard that story before as we've
Have
watched
you
the show.
really?
Yeah, I watched
Okay.
the episode.
Okay,
It was every other
okay.
show he would tell that story.
Oh, okay.
All right, Poke. Now, the thing is, we should probably not. Oh, okay. All right, you put him in with Lamont. That's just fucked up. Carnage. We can't rate him. We cannot. You are going to rate Carnage. No way! What?
Why not?
I would say Sex of the City, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, not that high.
All right, Destiny.
Oh!
Why? Can I ask why for this one?
Kind of good looking, and I dig his vibe. He's like a very serious guy.
Okay, now I don't want to be on this list. I take it back.
She's mental. She's mental. 100%.
Over Clint, dude? Are you
Oh,
serious?
So you're putting Destiny over Clint Stevens.
He said the same
Thanks
thing.
for streams, Hasan 3.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, that's just so strange. All right, I'm gonna put Lyric in the you cannot. There's no way.
Oh my god, I have a story.
All right, what's your
When
story?
I first went to my first ever convention, I walked up to Lyric and I was like, oh my god, I'm such a huge fan. And he looked at me.
Wait, how do you know what he looks like if he doesn't show his face?
And he looked at me and he was like,
3 love you.
oh, okay. And he walked away. And I felt so denied. I don't think I've ever felt worse in my life. It was pretty bad.
So in that, are you gonna try to rate him no way, no how just because he did that, or is it hot that he did that?
No way, no how.
Oh, that's just so fucked up.
Fuck that. Have a little bit of kindness.
All right, we got fucking
Love you, Has.
Who is that? I don't know who that is.
How do you not know he plays WoW every single fucking day?
Who is that?
You don't know who he is?
Maybe it's a bad picture?
No, it's fucking Quinn. Quinn89.
I don't know who that is.
All right, well, you don't know the person.
I don't know the person.
All right. He's a fucking keto. He's a fucking keto streamer.
But he rates higher than Slick.
He does.
Oh! Ooh. Now, is he on the end?
What fucking bullshit is this, mate?
Up there.
He's a fucking Gato streamer!
That's still better, okay? At least
He's
you're not
a
plastic
homie,
foil.
though. He's a homie. I can't see him that way.
He does smell good, though.
He does.
All right, Greek.
Or nor. I'm doing catharsis.
Right.
I'm gonna finish this video after the segment's done.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right, well. Sorry, Greek, you're friend zoned. All right, S-Fan.
I'm gonna put him right there with Greek.
All right, who's first, though? S-Fan or Greek?
Probably Greek.
Oh, son of a bitch. Seer.
He's eyed.
What? That dude's a sex symbol. What are you talking about? Have you seen his view count lately? I would go to still bang, 100%.
I don't bang people for content. I'm not like you.
That's just so
why
boring.
we're different
Yeah, that's
types of
that's
hoes.
why I date Maya. I found her with like 50 fucking viewers. That's like
She had 200 viewers before you met.
Okay, maybe I was watching her
I
intro
look at
stream, but
stats.
it wasn't that high. Okay, it wasn't
Okay.
anything crazy. All right, Forzen with 2 Z's.
He's gonna get hottest.
Okay, that picture is doing him justice. Have you seen him lately?
I have.
Okay.
I have. Listen. I've been watching.
He looks like he's
Forzen
asking for
a
$5 on Hollywood
long
Boulevard.
Time. I've been watching him for a long time. I would still bang.
Jesus. T1, and be careful with this one. Michaela will take the fastest red eye down here to hit you.
She's cool. He's aight.
Oh, okay. Jesus. The Cowman.
He's gonna get Sex in the City.
I think
Your hat, Hazi.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Wait, who's better than Tyler?
Wait, really? What the fuck?
Probably Tyler.
She is
Wait,
stern with
do I
her.
put them in order?
Yeah, I mean, you could put them in order to a sense. Oh!
Wait.
No, you should put that one up like 2 spots.
Listen, motherfuckers. I've been saying XQC's hot before it became a fucking meme, okay? I've been a day one advocate of XQC being attractive conventionally, despite being literally the size of one thigh of mine.
I'm undecided on this one.
What? Dude, you like older men. 100% you like older men. The median age of this age group is like 42, and the reason why it's not 50 is because Carl Jacobs is there.
Younger.
That's it. That's the only one. You're literally putting all the old men up top and the younger ones on the bottom.
Maybe like old men.
Ludwig Abigail's cousin, Ludwig.
Who is this?
That's Ludwig, dude.
Oh fuck, he's hot.
Oh my fucking god. All right, Soda.
Okay.
What?
Oh!
Mitch Jones. All right, you're just going in a row here.
I'm just saying, this is a good ass squad up top. Okay.
I feel like knowing what he did to that room really ruined things.
This is a good ass fucking squad. These are some of my favorite streamers, for the record.
After seeing the room that he left, I'm gonna put him in. I
I mean, actually, like all of them except for obvious ones,
I
but
just can't. I can't stand.
All right, you don't know this guy well enough.
I don't.
All right, Critical. And you don't know this guy well enough. And I don't want you to rate fucking Blex. All right, but I'll fucking let it go.
I don't know who that is.
He's literally, whenever I go offline, you see him go live. That's pretty much it. All right, Critical.
who is that? I don't know who that is.
I think I'm gonna put him on. I don't think so.
Wow. That's messed up.
He's gorgeous.
Do you
You're
need a
so
babe?
dumb.
Do you
He's
need a
beautiful.
babe? Do you need a babe?
No.
Okay.
Moon Moon.
Oh, is that? I don't think he streams with a camera.
No, don't do it.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah.
That's fucked.
I'm sorry. Who is this? He's kind of cute.
Some Italian guy. I forget his name.
What is his name?
It's Nick Merckx.
He's really cute.
Oh my god. It's like the only pictures I've ever seen where you can see his whole face. All right, we got Nim. I swear to God, if you don't put Nim up there, I'm gonna be fucking pissed.
Boys.
You're trolling at this point. You have to be trolling.
Hiding.
Look at his chisel. He has fancy Squidward on roids.
He
He's
is
gorgeous.
kind of cute. Can we see more pictures of him? Can we go to social media? I think I need some more.
That's so fucked. That's so
Let's
fucked.
look at his Instagram.
That's so fucked.
Nim is
Mods,
hot.
look me Nim Hearthstone stream. Ooh, look at that.
Oh. Okay, he's cute. Okay, no. Wait. Yeah, no. He went up a lot.
That's better. That's more like it. That's better.
Yeah, no.
I would put him way in front of Hasan, but that's just me. All right, Rich Campbell, the reason why we're all here. You could be 100%. Oh, Rich will take that. Rich will take he's aight.
Okay.
He is 100% gonna take that. Good job to Rich. He's proud of that one.
What the
He's fine with
fuck?
it.
Okay.
All right, Shroud.
I can't write in this motherfucker's chat because it's sub only. What a fucking animal, dude.
That's what makes him attractive.
And now I'm banned from his chat. Okay, I'm banning Mizkif.
What? Okay, the fireball clearly hit you. There's no way.
Can we look at more pictures of Slicker?
You obviously want to if you put him there. What? Blex.
Unacceptable.
Nobody does.
Put him in I don't know the person.
How do I find out who banned me?
Stay safe.
How do I find out who banned me? This is literally 1987. George Orwin.
He's aight.
Cool, Tim. That's not bad. And Moxie.
I have no idea what Moxie looks like, but he's got a Kappa pride.
You're so dumb.
Okay,
He's
a
literally one
lot of
the
this
hottest
doesn't
guys on
make sense.
Twitch.
Moist critical is way too low.
Like right here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's perfect.
There you go.
All right, chat. This is the full list.
No. What does Moxie actually look like?
Well, he looks like this.
Oh, that's the same person?
Yeah, that's him. That's his old stream.
Don't like it when you're on the other side of the ban, huh? I didn't even get to write, dumbasses. I never fucking preemptively ban you. I preemptively ban. I fucking ban you when you say dumb
Connery's
shit.
pants, where would it go?
Probably here.
You shit talked her before? Oh, really?
Nice.
It's pretty good.
That's not bad.
No, not at all.
No, he'll take that. That's pretty good. So you soda's all the way up here?
Yeah.
Why?
What do you mean, why? He's hot.
Oh, I've just always had like a little bit of a crush on him.
Oh my god, it's so fucking lame. You're such a viewer.
I'm such a viewer. It is what it is, I mean.
Who
Wait,
has
why
this
is it
doctor?
sub-only mode?
I don't think I've ever.
Why is Chad in sub-only mode? There you go.
I don't think I've ever fucking.
Oh, they're fucking pissed because Hasan's first.
They're pissed because of Hasan? He's
Miz
hot,
refresh, I
though.
think there's one more.
He's hot. Who is this? Who is that?
Aiden, crisscross applesauce, Aiden Ross. Which one do you think?
Would still bang.
What? What? And you tell me that you don't like guys with viewers. That is such a fucking lie, and it's a cap and a half.
Bro. She put Destiny up there, so I don't know
Oh,
if
we
she
forgot
likes
Will
guys
left.
with viewers.
Where did the OBS go?
Huh?
We can't see what Chad looks at.
Dude, I know what they're looking at. They're looking at my screen, and then they look full.
Oh, okay.
Dude, why does every fucking
Okay.
person complain in my room whenever I do this shit?
Yeah. You just have
Add
a
rice
weird-
gum?
yeah.
Dude, I'm not adding rice. It's
No, we're
obviously
not.
Sex in the City, dude.
No, we're not adding
What do you want me to fucking say? Okay. Asmongold?
Will!
Again, he's gorgeous. What?
Add Will!
Hasan, it's 11 months. Where's my child support?
Show Clint. Yeah, maybe you're like wrong on the Clint Stevens factor, and I feel like we need to look at some pictures of
Okay,
Clint
okay, okay.
Stevens.
Let's look at some pictures of
Why am I not a mod in his channel? This is fucking bullshit, dude.
Yeah, no, he stays there.
What?
Sorry.
What? All right, how about
He's
this
so
one?
hot.
He's definitely staying there.
No! How about this one?
You're not pledging a case for him right now.
This one?
Yeah, he's going down.
He smacked his head
Going down,
eye
going
with the
down.
game controller.
He's going down now.
He's going down. How about
Going
this
down.
one?
Going down to.
You're out of your mind!
Yeah.
I mean, he literally
I
looks
think
like
it's
a. Clint literally looks like a Disney star. And I say this as like someone who has no connection to him, no relationship with this person whatsoever. Massive ego, literally can't be stopped. I am the best. I'm literally the best. Nothing can stop me. Who cares if my dick can fit inside the toilet paper roll? It doesn't stop me from being the literal best. Get on my level. What is that? Who said that?
Right now to prove it. There's a soda. That is something that Soda Poppin would tweet immediately. There is no way that's not from him. There's no way.
What is that? What is going on?
Oh, it's sort of reacting to her.
Calm the fuck down, you people.
Chat, shut the hell up, you stupid ass bitch.
Shut up, chat. Wow, we have 50,000 viewers.
Oh, it's from a clip? Huh?
Did someone hosted you? Maybe somebody.
Alinity, what if I told you that I'm just a big icon at this point and a big streamer? Is that crazy to think?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Crazy to think.
Watch. Look what happens when I say Twitch Prime. Twitch Prime.
You heard the man. It is top of the fucking hour, boys.
I almost want them not to do it. Just
Top of the fucking hour, boys. It's time for a
don't.
6-second
They are
ad break
literally-
right
I
now.
have
If
one
you'd
of
like to no longer see the ads, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do it for $5. Or you can subscribe for free with a Twitch Prime. Ladies and gentlemen, you can do it. It is for free. Or you can use an ad block or a VPN, but here's the 1-minute ad break now.
Oh, that's John Zerka.
I would still bang.
Miss doing your
That's
ad
John
read?
Zerka, baby. One of the hottest guys on
Wait,
Twitch.
is he dating Jenna?
No. I think they're just both in this picture because they're both canceled. Maybe that was it. Yeah, something like that.
What did he do?
What did he do? I think he hung out with Jenna. Not smart. Not smart.
Why? Why do you don't like Jenna?
What? Why don't I like Jenna?
I love
I
this,
don't
dude.
problem with Jenna. I don't
Dude,
problem
I
with her.
love this. Mizkif is doing content, and I'm just stealing it. This is great, dude. This actually feels great. I don't have to pause it and talk over it for like 3.5 hours and make a, 1 hour long video go for literally 5 hours as I like go through every detail of fucking COVID conspiracies and vax conspiracies. I'm just going to do that. I mean, I'm technically kind of literally doing that right now while I'm stealing his content, but I should do that more often. Here it
He
is.
sucks. Hate that guy.
We could do girls.
That's it?
I just feel like I would be hurting some feelings.
That's it?
You want? So wait. So you want to rate girls' personalities?
No.
I was say there's no such thing.
Looks. Yeah, girls don't have personality.
That was sick.
Yeah.
If she starts rating girls, it's going to be fucking
drama. True,
on
guys
site.
don't care. Girls have
guys
hair.
don't give a shit.
You realize that when you came in my room, I played a Pornhub intro?
Hassle.
You played the Pornhub intro.
Chat, stop looking around for Will Neff. I don't know where he is.
on Pornhub.
What?
Yeah.
What do you say?
There's a video on Pornhub of me. It's when I accidentally showed the titty on Twitch.
What?
Oh, how many views does it have?
I don't know. I've never looked at it, but
Okay, I'm done. I'm bored. He's not gonna do the tier list anymore. I'm not actually bored. Mizkif does great content. This is what I was saying when I said he does good content. Let's finish this. You're literally taking the surplus of Mizkif's labor right now. Don't worry, it's 0. So the surplus of that is also 0. Nobody says hi to me anymore. Afro Sergeant, hi. I said it. Wait, they were gonna rank girls? Yeah, let's finish the Vax vid and then we'll watch the ranking
Ignorance
girls.
trying to sound like skepticism. To bring it all full circle, it seems like Bill's beliefs about vaccines are really based on that big scare that started in the late 90s. After all, the only factoid he seems to ever be able to remember is that lots of parents said they were bad that one time. And that's not even a fact, that's some opinions he remembers. I'd joke that it's a pity they don't make a vaccine for confirmation bias, but he wouldn't have got it, would he? There is, however, one time in this old interview where he really does attempt to make a scientific claim. He tells Larry that if you get the flu shot more than 5 years in a row, it tenfold increases the risk of getting Alzheimer's.
What?
That's a really specific thing to say. Maybe by checking this claim out, we can figure out who he's getting his beliefs from. I looked, and there are actually studies on the impact of vaccination on rates of Alzheimer's. The risk of Alzheimer's goes down. Okay, so this clearly isn't his source. I did some more digging though, and I found that in 1997, at a vaccine conference, in one guy's presentation, he said that a scientist had found that this happens. There's no study cited here, but that's at least a source for Bill's claims. Let's check the doctor's papers and see if we can find out for ourselves. Wait a second, I blurred the scientist's name out by accident. Let me fix that. Dr. Hugh Hbomberguy.
Dun.
No matter how you look at it, a vast majority of anti-vaccine rhetoric and pseudoscience can be traced directly back to these two guys. According to a survey of US healthcare professionals in 2016, 77% of parents refusing vaccination for their children still cite a fear of a link with autism. When people refuse medicine for their children...
Well, technically, the reason why I said this is like
Hey, chat, yo,
this needs to
Hasan,
be
can you
like
please
turned
do
back
something
around
fun
to
when we
current
ask
day
Saj?
anti-vaxxer conspiracies because I think they've debunked this so many times that like the anti-vaxxers have moved on from fear of autism to other shit. Like now they're fucking talking about how did he react to being next to me?
Honestly, like the first, I actually want to go jack off, like furiously masturbate, just but like a long one, like not like get it out of the way type thing, but more kind of like like let's savor this.
10% of Americans believe
thought.
that now. That's what.
Fuck.
10% of Americans believe the fucking vaccines cause autism now. According to that latest study of like a very famous conspiracy theory.
They largely point to the hazy memory of the scare Wakefield started for money. So yeah, it's pretty important to point out they both lost their medical licenses and their science was garbage. And despite being an obvious hack fraud con man, Wakefield is still embraced by the anti-vaccine community. Wakefield was a guest of honor at Conspiracy, the week-long cruise for all kinds of conspiracy theorists, where believers of all stripes gather to share their theories about climate change, the Earth being flat, time travelers, and horses being real. The kind of funny thing is, Wakefield himself seems pretty embarrassed by this. A skeptic who went on the cruise noted how unhappy he looked with the implication of being a hero to a community that absolutely loves complete quacks.
The story of my life is basically how to take a perfectly good career and flush it down the toilet.
Luckily for Wakefield, the toilet is full of money, and all he has to do to get it is lean further and further away from
Fucks hotties, has a fucking massive compound, gets invited to super cool fucking cruise ship vacations where they pay him to be there around some of the most interesting people on the planet. This dude literally had the opposite of what was supposed to happen to him for his crimes. Many crimes against humanity. No, he overcame being British. You can't say, but he's British, Omegalol. He overcame it, okay? He doesn't have to just deal with being British every day, okay? He overcame being British. In spite of that, he was able to get to this point.
Science and deeper into this culture. He's had to pivot to saying all vaccines are dangerous because his new anti-vaccine audience aren't very receptive to the old claim that I'm not anti-vaccine, just one vaccine is dangerous and I recommend mine instead. I don't think these people would buy a 10-pack of that story. And of course, in the middle of the pandemic that is currently...
Wait, is Hbomberguy making the argument that American psycho anti-vaxxers are still inherently a little bit smarter than the fucking dumbass British anti-vaxxers?
Happening, Wakefield emerged from his mansion to remind everyone that a virus that has so far killed over 3 million people is better than being vaccinated against it.
As Nelson Mandela said at his trial, there are ideals worth dying for.
Presumably of COVID-19.
I don't want to get too dramatic, but better to die as a free man than live as a slave! I don't think that was too dramatic, do you?
The fact the movement he started is still based almost completely on his lies is pretty important to point out. And, in fact, it's useful to point it out, because despite how it might look, the truth can be...
Never mind. I originally said he overcame being British. I take that back after seeing those that denim. He absolutely did not overcome being a bruv. Okay, that is a designated bruv ass move, dude. Okay, there's nothing more bruv than those jeans.
A powerful thing. Once Wakefield got chased out to America and had his medical license taken away, vaccination rates in the UK recovered. I love this because you can basically see the effects of Brian Deer's reporting on a graph. Like the scare starts and it gets worse and worse and worse, and then Brian Deer's reporting comes out and bam, it's on its way back up. Like, the truth does make a difference. And then, when Wakefield's license was taken away, we went right back up to pre-scare levels. Of course, getting chased out to America meant he started peddling his lies in America, so sorry about that, but it does seem pretty clear that the truth helps people make up their minds about this stuff. Fascinatingly, a lot of Britain seems to remember the MMR scare and the revelation that it was based on lies and learned a lesson.
Wait, so fucking Britland actually solved this anti-vaxxer bullshit? The fucking oi brovs did?
about vaccine alarmism. According to polls of global willingness to take the COVID-19 vaccine, other countries start relatively low, perhaps dimly remembering some people saying vaccines are bad. Then acceptance grows as it becomes increasingly clear the new vaccines are safe. Wait, where's the UK? Well, boys, we're just chilling up here. We've been through this before, you see.
Are you fucking kidding? Okay, this is literally a demonstration of something horrible happened, and then the government learned their lesson. That's not allowed in government. That's unironically not fucking allowed. What you're supposed to do is literally avoid the problem, or the American way, make it significantly worse by banning mass inoculation campaigns. Like for other shit that people weren't even demanding. You know what I mean? Other people were like, yeah, I'll take the polio vaccine. It's like, no! We're banning that, motherfucker!
That's my British accent. It seems like our past experience with bullshit vaccine scares has inoculated us against future ones. Kat wrote that line. I didn't find the one weird trick doctors hate to deconverting people from being against vaccines and changing their minds or anything here. All we've really discovered is that if you lay the whole story out like this, people can do a good job of making up their own minds. The actual scientific community works very hard to be receptive to potential side effects. When even the potential possibility maybe of one of the vaccines having side effects came up, the FDA and the CDC briefly recommended not getting it for a while until later when they checked and were sure it was fine. Vaccine safety is taken extremely seriously by medical scientists and doctors for obvious reasons. Actually, here's a fun example.
Bro, we've had like 100 school shootings, and they had one guy who wore denim and had a bad haircut turn out to be a liar. Okay, that's normal, though. Like, in America, you see a bad haircut like that and denim like that, and you're like, oh, that guy's sus. In the UK, that means, like, he's the top, bruv. Like, that shows your ranking. The uglier your haircut, the higher rank of bruv you are. So that's the reason why that it doesn't work that way. He is an omega bruv. We elected one of those president, not fair.
Example of how stringent the community is about vaccines. Wakefield's
I mean, if you don't believe me, literally, Boris Johnson, okay? Boris Johnson. Even though it turns out the Boris Johnson school of thought is actually quite effective at inoculation campaigns. Yes, very good. Homer's Odyssey has a story, a quite wonderful story about this, and I will recall it in the original Latin.
Alternative vaccine was based on such bad science, it would never have made it out of clinical trials. The medical work behind it was awful. I mean, one of its authors' names is spelled wrong on page 1. The science on the following pages is roughly what you'd expect from something like that. I think I might actually make a bonus video for patrons just covering this vaccine patent because it is whack. Really, Andrew Wakefield.
I know it's supposed to be Greek, I just couldn't think about it at the time. So I said Latin, because it sounds good. Shut the fuck up, don't try to correct me.
Was always doomed to end up as a scam artist. He wasn't very good at the science when he was a doctor. All the coronavirus vaccines currently in use have passed tests and checks that his alternative measles vaccine would never have done. Wakefield can pretend he's not going to get the vaccine and appear at health freedom summits that recommend you don't get it, and instead eliminate toxins with only affordable products and cooking hacks. But I certainly hope for his sake that he just gets the vaccine in secret, because otherwise the next cruise is going to have a fucking body count. There is another way the truth can change people's minds. Living proof. If someone thinks the coronavirus vaccines might be dangerous, one of the best ways to help seems to be people around them getting it and showing them how it's fine. In early polls, before a vaccine was out, a lot of people in the USA claimed they were going to hold off until they were sure it was safe, which is a pretty risky decision considering the danger of the virus versus any possible side effects of the vaccine. Like a third.
No, you don't understand. The virus is both fake, but also a bioweapon created by China to destroy America specifically. For some reason, only specifically destroys America. But also it's fake because... it's just fake because, I don't want to get vaccinated.
third of people who get infected, even if it's minor, are left with long-term complications, like long-distance runners are left unable to climb stairs without getting out of breath, people have lost eyesight, people have lost teeth, and of course, a lot of people have died of the disease. But over time, as more and more people did get the vaccine, that by itself changed a lot of minds. The truth is, it was easy in 2020 to have your doubts about a theoretical vaccine that no one had had yet. But now, when half the people around you already have it, and they're obviously fine, it's a whole lot harder to have those doubts. Over time, the people waiting and seeing seem to have decided they've seen enough, and they want what those guys are having. So this is my call to action in case anyone needs it. You should get a COVID vaccine if you can. You know, get one while you're there for your colonoscopy. The vaccine makes life safer for you and reduces the possibility of passing the virus to someone more vulnerable, so you won't have that on your conscience either. I know having a conscience is virtue signaling now, but still, it's a nice bonus. And on top of that, if there are people in your life who could be at risk, who need convincing of the vaccine's safety, you could be the evidence they need. It's amazing how compelling seeing other people get vaccinated can be. There is, sadly, one concerning thing about the data. There are some people who started out saying no to vaccination and have largely stayed that way. Maybe some of them will budge as more and more people get vaccinated, but there's probably a group who are so distrustful of vaccines because of everything we've discussed so far that they can't have their minds changed even by the hundreds of millions of obviously completely safely vaccinated people all around them. People can invest a lot of ego and pride in not accepting evidence that contradicts their beliefs about the world. And it really doesn't help that there are hundreds of people exactly like Andrew Wakefield who are ready to tell them everything they believe is already true, and they just need to buy their supplements or DVDs or cooking hacks and enable people to convince themselves that they don't.
Do you think it's ever possible to change the minds of roughly 20% of the people that are staunchly anti-vax? No, I actually don't think so, which is part of the reason why I'm an advocate for censorship of the people that are spreading vaccine misinformation. Because I think when you get to a certain point, it is nearly impossible to get, it's nearly impossible to turn around. And not only that, but also on top of that, you start believing in a multitude of other conspiracies that are conservative or conservative adjacent. Like it's a pipeline towards like just the most reactionary garbage. And it's very, very scary, dude. I think what we are supposed to do is eliminate people from even venturing into that side of misinformation, because unfortunately, people are just fucking fearful. They're afraid of the unknown. And I don't know. I don't know how to deal with it, man. I really don't. But it's the same as COVID. Like a lot of you went through COVID, started seeing how unequal our economic system was. You started getting radicalized in one way. And then you noticed that some of your friends went the exact opposite way. Times of volatility is ripe for radicalization and even revolutionary action. Economic instability breeds opportunity. And while some of you came to the correct conclusion, there were plenty of people who absolutely went the opposite way. I saw so many people, so many fucking people on Instagram, in like, not my immediate circle, but outside of that, fall victim to these insane conspiracy theories and start becoming like Trump supporters and advocates for Republicans and reactionary ideas. So yeah, I don't. Does the extreme anti-vaccine conspiracy in the West make you lose faith in humanity? It low-key makes me want to like move to a different country. Maybe not even in the West. I'm not even kidding. Like whenever I see shit like that, I'm like, fuck, man. I mean, I have the opportunity.
Sick lights.
What country, dude, is the same everywhere? Yeah, maybe move to Canada so I can gamble. No. Of course, your opinion is the only correct one. What a dummy. When it comes to vaccines, yes. Because my opinion is informed by medical science and not like, you know, the past 2 hours of what we just watched.
President Biden.
People who believe in like one random fucking study that was, you know, done by a doctor in the UK for horrible and selfish purposes.
Don't need to do any more thinking. For a small fee, of course. Ah, come on though, comparing Wakefield to Alex Jones, that's a bit much. There's no way Wakefield would stoop to... Have you learned nothing?
Good to have you here with us. It's great to be here, Alex. Thank you very much.
Changing these people's minds really should be their job, and it's nobody else's fault that they're struggling with it. But I think the future of this kind of discussion resides in finding more compelling ways of communicating the truth to people who aren't used to hearing it. I hope in some way this video has helped. In the meantime, while we figure out how to convince people who seem committed to being never convinced, at least the vaccine intended for them can go to someone who's sure they want it. Specifically, me. Please send me their vaccine. I was glad they were testing it on the old people first, but it's been months now and I want it. I want to go outside. Be able to go outside. I want to pretend I shop at Waitrose again. I want to use my free football tickets. I want to taunt my former hairdresser with how useless she is to me now, and threaten to turn her building back into a research foundation. Give me the vaccine, doctor. Hell, give me all of them. Let me combine their power. Soon I will be unstoppable. It's easy to get depressed and begin to believe that you're basically locked in a room with thousands of fucking idiots who are just willing to say stupid shit constantly, just committed to just being wrong. But actually, the more I think about it, I'm actually locked in a planet with millions of people who do know better than these people, but they're just so busy being depressed like me at them. Maybe the answer here is that we just need to accept that we should put the depression energy into making a difference, into changing the minds of the people who can be, and into doing what we can to improve the state of our world around these people. And just let them be mad, and let them continue to be stupid, but in a world where their kids won't die of polio because we got rid of it for them. Good for them. Ignorant little wankers. Because maybe the hard thing to do when we're confronted by the scope of these problems is accept that we really can do something about it. No matter how hopeless things may seem, the world always can get better. And maybe together, someday, we can invent a way of cleaning up this fucking mess in my mum's in my garage.
That was very good. He's so fucking good, dude. He's so good. No, the only problem that governments value the lives of unvaccinated people above my future mental health. The thing that I always ask people is like, look, there is a reason to be skeptical of
it's not top of the hour.
Of big pharmaceutical corporations, right? Like they are indecent. But you already know where I stand. Whenever someone's like, "Oh, well, you know, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this?" But I'm like, don't you think that the government has a vested interest to open the fucking economy back? And if they turn around and say, "Well, yeah, that's why they rushed this vaccination process." No, you don't think the government wants to... Oh, he's just baiting. The government doesn't want to open the economy, dude. As an autistic person, the anti-vax rhetoric has always angered and depressed me, because in one way, it's awful to hear my disability be constantly reduced to a negative side effect. But on the other hand, it saddens me that people would rather have their children risk death or disease than be like me. I mean, those people need autism in their lives, dude. Like, so there's no, they'd be significantly better off. So don't worry. Not a bad thing. Okay? They should get a little bit of gayness from the vaccine and a little bit of autism, because that's how the vaccine works. What is this?
You smash?
Dude, this is an old video. Why are you resending this video from 5 days ago? We've seen this already. I don't hate it, but, you know, we have seen it. This guy had nothing else to say. He just fucking said, of course, your opinion is the only right one. Pretty sure that clip was part 2 of it. I heard if you get the gay vaccine, you can still have sex, but Republicans also approve of you. Following since 7 hours ago. This guy literally set it up so that he could be like, I'm gonna fucking get him with this take. When you take the vaccine to not get COVID, but it only turns you gay. Why is the community filled with so many vaccine skeptics? Because I respond to it and they love that shit. Okay, that's why. Also, Kizume did not respond to me, I think.
Okay. Pog.
Murder dirter. Yeah. I think we should move beyond we should move away from fucking covering the vaccine, because my brain has melted in its entirety.